Good morning, my Teaserking family. Happy Wednesday, Memorial Week. Hope everybody is well. I did hear from Dee yesterday, and this was her answer. So I kind of said to her, well, I haven't heard from you in a few days. Did you get home? But I stayed stoic, but I was getting frustrated. And she said, my hemoglobin was stolen. My head was spinning. I feel better now. I'll be discharged home today. In other words, I was really sick. So I guess she slept or whatever for 2 days in the hospital. And then she's discharged home today. Well, she told me she was coming home on a Monday. So that's why I'm like going, okay, I didn't hear from you Monday. I didn't hear from you Tuesday. Where the hell are you? So I said, this is why you should tell me. I don't know where you are or what's going on. And that's a problem to me. Then I asked her, why did somebody steal your blood? So I believe that she's honest with me. Who would make that up? But were you just unconscious for 2 days? And that's really the problem, right? And I'm like, don't forget about me. Like, so I'm glad she did tell me. Gold right now is 32.98. So Europe's pushing it up, and then at 6 o'clock it went from 33.25, and it just goes straight down, and then finally at 32.96, the U.S. Starts pumping it back up. It's just going in this range between 32.90 to 33.40, let's say. China's not buying like they were. As you can see, they were 32.96. Europe was the one who pushed it up, and then now the U.S. kind of did some derivatives, and now it's going up. So that's what we have with gold, paper gold, fake gold. It's amazing how people want to look at charts to analyze gold and silver. And it's like, these are people that don't understand is you can't. You cannot chart gold and silver that is options and price fixed. Because you don't know what's going on that is leading, why is there a derivative from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, not getting it down 30? What are you going to get out of it? They're selling it. I mean, they're doing short options. Well, what are you going to make out of that? You can't chart that. Let me get my coffee. So let's try to understand what they're trying to do. Why do you chart to get a trend analysis in the first place? Why do I chart football? Well, you want to get the expected outcome. So in other words, if Chicago is a real bad road underdog because they stink, you figured that trend out. Oh, geez. In the last 20 games on the road, the Bears bet against are 18-2. Oh, okay. So if they're a road underdog this week, I'm going to bet against them because they're not very good on the road. So you're using data to try to figure out what's going to happen next. And my data's pretty reasonable. Now I got a year of Caleb, so now I can see what the Bears are like. But now I got to be careful. I got a new coach. So I can't really, until we know what the coach is, use the Bears to chart what's going to happen next. I can use Kansas City. I can probably use Cincinnati because Joe Burrow has been there a few years with the coach. And I can probably use there's very few teams that have the same quarterback and coach. So our examples would be even Philadelphia added Berkeley. So it's really Kansas City and Cincinnati are the only teams that have pretty much have the same coach and quarterback for about 5 years now. Those trends I can trust. I cannot trust Denver. I got 1 year of Sean Payton and Bo Nix. So after this year, I can trust them. San Diego, I got Harbaugh. He was new last year. I got 1 year of Harbaugh. I need another year or so. I got to have enough data to make the analysis kind of accurate. But most of these teams, Daniels, I got 1 year of Daniels. I got 1 year. I don't even have a year of Penix. Drake May, now I got a new coach. So they keep switching the variables, which is critical in understanding to try to use a trend analysis to come up with the winner of the next game. Even in college, it's ridiculous. Michigan, new coach, the quarterbacks are changing all the time. So that's what I'm trying to use data points. Baseball would be extremely hard because of the lineups, right? So Detroit might play the Cubs, or let's say Minnesota, who's in their division, but several guys were injured. So now they're facing new guys. That screws up your variables. So the variables are you have to understand if they changed. Things that screwed me up in the past were like New England would clinch the number 1 seed, in week 16 or 15. And let's say their last game, they didn't need it. They wouldn't play Brady. They didn't play half their team. And they played Miami, who's in the division. So you got a bad play, you got a bad score because Brady didn't play. But if they played week 2, you would get a more thing. So there was always some variable that you had to be careful on. We're getting back to 33. So that's why we do it. You take the Jets and Miami. I used to play the dog in that game. For 20 years, the dog was the play. Michigan, Ohio State used to be the dog. And even though their variables changed, it was the dog. And if it goes that long, it's okay. And then it kind of got broken, and then you get away from it. But that's what you're trying to do is look at how these teams play each other to get what you expect, how they'll play this week. And that's why you got to look at injuries. They change the variables. That's my conversation with Nick, wanting to do math formulas. I'm not picking on you, Nick. I'm just making a case in point. So you want to do it, and you want to do an algorithm, and you want to say, okay, if I plug in these numbers, I can get the outcome. And my point always was, but the variables change too much to really math algorithm it, or what do we call it now? AI. AI cannot figure this out. AI would never be able to forecast a game or a budget or a lot of things because it's got to be static. It's got to be everything the same to use a math formula. And I said, well, this team has a 28% chance of winning, or this team has this. I mean, they're looking at, you know, points and quarterbacks and whatever they're using to say, oh, Baltimore's got a 64% chance of beating Cleveland. And to me, it's all bullshit. You can't do it for the reasons I'm saying. Wait a minute. Are the variables the same? Quarterback, the coach, who played? Do they need the monkey in the? What if the New England needed the game, or Oakland? He's an Oakland fan. What if Oakland needs the game to make the playoffs? Is that the same as a Week 5 game? No. What if Oakland's been eliminated from the playoffs? Is that the same? What if the team Oakland's playing, let's say Kansas City, has clinched the division and they've clinched the 1 seed? Are you going to have the same? I mean, if you looked at Mahomes and Reed and you looked at the strength of the teams, I'm sure KC would have a 70% chance of winning. But, wait, they clinched. They're not playing Mahomes and Kelsey. Oakland might need the game to make the playoffs. So you can't use the math. That's why the math doesn't work. And that's what I tried to tell him. It was the variables. The variables change everything and make it from point A to point B to point C. So you want 20 data points, but if they're all different, you can't do it. And that's simply what I'm trying to tell you is I can't use the trend analysis. G said that to me. She says, "You still using the trend analysis?" And I said, "No, I can't." My expertise comes in and saying, I can't. This is the method I used for a long time, was trend analysis, was team versus team, and how are they as a home favorite, home dog. In my little intro, which I'm trying to figure out how to change, that's what I'm saying. I am a trend analysis. I'm looking at the trends to figure out what's happening. But I've discovered, what do I do with all these new quarterbacks? Because they come in and play. Caleb plays right away. Caleb's not ready to play. Daniels played right away. Drake May played right away, even though they're not. Let's use Jacksonville's trends, except for they keep getting new coaches. See, they find a coach when the problem is Trevor Lawrence. It's terrible. I told you it was terrible. If you go into my draft thing, I got to do my draft thing for this year. But if you look at my draft thing, I tell you, watching the Ohio State Clemson games, there was a problem. He couldn't throw the ball. He'd go for these long runs, but he couldn't throw the ball. He'd be like 10 of 25 for 80 yards, but he'd run for a lot. Well, you don't run in the NFL. So I could tell right away he's not it. The quarterback I like is like Penix, who didn't really run a lot, but he could throw the ball right on, and so did Bo Nix and, of course, Daniels. They hit the guys in stride. They could read defenses, and they won a lot of big games. And this was my whole point of Penix and my whole point of Caleb. Caleb got killed by Notre Dame, got killed by UCLA, got killed by Oregon, and he looked terrible. Well, what's he going to do in the pros? They're better. So those are what you're looking at. And so I had to get off the trends because of all the new quarterbacks who jumped right in. So I was quick to see the changes that were made, the variables that were changed. And you hear me talk about that when we're talking comex and brics and gold and silver, and the variables changed as brics came along, and they're the ones buying the gold and silver. And comex is about to blow up. So all these variables are changing. So you can't look and say, oh, well, in 2008, this is what gold did. That was paper gold. Most of these idiots out there don't even understand it's paper gold. They're not smart enough to catch the variables have changed, and therefore they put out stupid things and they sound like idiots. But you have to be smart enough to understand the change that's happening, right? Which is what I am. My ability is to see variances. That's why I'm a mathematician. It's if X happens, then Y happens, then Z happens. Okay. But is X and Y the same as they were 5 years ago or 20 games ago or in 2008? And that's where I excel, is going, no, something's changed. And in this case, in gold and silver, it's brics. In football, the coaches leave every if they're lucky if they stay 2 years, which really fucks me up. Because now, okay, how are the Bears going to do? I don't know. They got another new coach. Is he any good? I don't know. He's never coached before. Coaching the Lions doesn't give you any insight to what he's going to be as a head coach. And he's got a lot of different players. He doesn't have the same line or running backs or quarterback that he had at the Lions. Not that Goff was any good, but Caleb was really bad. So watching Caleb in college, I know he sucks. Watching him last year, he sucks. Watching him this year, he's going to suck. And this is the problem. The variables have changed. So now you got a new coach. You can't use the Bears last year's trends. So I have to evolve and develop. And I think, what else can I use besides a trend analysis? Same thing in comex. I never use a trend analysis in comex. As soon as I see these idiots start charting comex, this is what happened in 08, and this is what's going. It doesn't work like that. This is a price fixed market. You cannot look at what happened in 2008. Brics wasn't around in 2008. That's probably where Brics started, was the fact, just like Bitcoin. It's the same thing. It started because of the collapse in 2008. Should have bankrupted the system. The U.S. made a big mistake by keeping it running. And now it's the end, which we'll get to. I'm rolling now with my variables. So that's why in baseball, I'm looking for, how do we pick winners there? And I'm looking and looking. And I go, I know the pitcher's got something to do with it. The managers have it fucked up because they don't let the guy should pitch 7-8 innings, and you should use very little bullpen, because the bullpen guys, by definition, are not as strong as the starters. So if you only pitch the starter 5 innings and then you're going to weaker pitchers, that's a mistake. And you should have one ace in the bullpen, the Raleigh fingers. Then you could trend it, but you don't have him. There's new guys every game. There's guys with 5 ERAs closing. What are you doing? So in football, I figured out I can't use trends. Like I said, maybe KC, maybe Cincinnati, Buffalo, Baltimore. A few teams where the quarterback's been there 4 or 5 years and the coach has been there 4 or 5 years. But we don't even need a trend for Baltimore. We just know if it's a big game, bet against them. If KC, a big game, we take KC. Cincinnati, they're the dog. We take Cincinnati. We always go, we know Joe Burrow. We can trust him, right? And Chase. I mean, you're gold there. Minnesota, they're fucking around. You got Jefferson, and you're not giving them a quarterback. You give them Kirk Cousins, and then you give them Kirk Cousins, and then you give them Sam Darnold. Now you give them J.J. McCarthy. What are you doing? You got a superstar receiver. What are you doing? So what I had to do was say, okay, I can't use trend analysis. It doesn't work because of too many variable changes. And there goes your analytics, algorithms, whatever you guys want to use. That's why I say it doesn't work, because you need a lot of data points and they keep changing, right? The Bears, now it's Caleb. Okay, but now we got a new coach. So we got to go back to scratch. So Caleb's last year doesn't mean anything because now here's a new coach. So now we got to look at the next year and a half with the new coach in Caleb. Maybe we don't. Maybe we need 8 or 9 games this year to see what's going on. So what I've done is figured out in football, well, let's look at offense and defensive points and how strong the defense is. And we'll use that. That's less tangible as far as the quarterback. We can see Philly with all the Georgia guys. And by looking at the points allowed, we can see how good the defense is. And we can see how bad they are. And what we've noticed, me and the professor have noticed, is that most of your upsets come when they play strong defenses. And all of a sudden the offense can't move. Because it's always based on offense, the point spread, right? You got a team that scores a lot, they're going to be favored a lot. That's why I rank the teams A, B, C, well, A, B, E, Z, W, and Z. What I'm regularly telling myself is if they're a good offense and a good defense, they got an A. If they're pretty good offense and pretty good defense, not as strong, but fairly good, they get a B. An even team is 25 points on offense and 25 on defense. So their defense isn't strong enough to give an A, B, but they score enough so they're not a Z or a W. And then the Z team is the team that scores 10 points a game and gives up 30. Carolina. Who else? The Giants, the Jets. I mean, all these teams will be Z teams. So I figured out that the key is the points. That will carry every year. And we don't even care. We're not looking for trends. We're now looking for who's got the best defense. And that's going to change every year, but we change with it. Oakland's got Coach Pete. I assume their defense will get better. Denver's got a very good defense. San Diego, very good defense. Kansas City, that whole division, very good defense. You look at the Lions, Green Bay, not a very good defense. Minnesota, good. So now you're looking at teams, are they a good defense or not? Miami, no defense. The Jets, nothing. They're a Z team. The Giants, not much. They're probably a Z team. Adding their quarterback, Jackson Dart, I don't see him being very good. He's a running quarterback. So he's going to do his little bullshit running. And when he gets to the red zone, the 30-yard line, you start blitzing him, and he's got nowhere to go, and you don't have to worry about the blitz because you only got 30 yards to defend. He can't beat you passing. So he'll run you down to the 30, and then maybe you kick a field goal. Yeah, that's not going to hurt us. But when the game's on the line and he can't kick the field goal and you're down 6 and he's got to get a touchdown, he can't do it because he can't throw. So that's why I rate the rookies, right? And the only really good quarterback still in Gabriel on Cleveland, but we'll see if he's the quarterback. Prime Jr. is not good. If he quarters, Cleveland will not be a Z. They'll be an under team because they've got the whatchamacallit. They've got the defensive end. They got pretty good defense. We'll see how good their number 1 draft pick is. I always struggle with their defensive end's name. What the hell is his name? I want to say McGuire, but I know that's not right. Myles Garrett. Not a lot of guys named Myles. So they've got Myles Garrett and this other defense. So pretty good defense, which makes them an under team. Because they're not going to score, but you're not going to score a lot on them. But I don't think Cleveland's been a great under team at all, even with Myles Garrett. He's on the left end, you're under the right. I mean, it's, he can't cover everything. He's a good player. It's like the Lions. They have Hutchinson, that's it. So again, the Lions are an over team with Hutchinson. Their defense stinks, but their offense is good. So you learn the team. How's your offense? How's your defense? You look at the points. You look at who they played. But in the NFL, mostly you're playing, pretty, like if you play five games, you're probably playing two good teams, two bad teams, and a in-between team. And so you really get a feel for their offense and defense. And then you start betting the defense. This is the key. This is what I tell Prophet in basketball or baseball. He's looking for defense. But you can't. The defense in baseball is the pitching. In basketball, there is no defense. You just let that go. So what you're looking for is a different theory because you understand trend analysis doesn't work in football. Like I said, it would in Baltimore, Buffalo, KC, Cincinnati, the Niners, maybe, the Rams, probably. Now Coach Pete's not on Seattle. So as the coach changes, so that whole dilemma, I made a fortune betting on Chuck Noll. I made a fortune betting on Jimmy Johnson, college and in pro. I made a fortune betting on Bill Parcells, Bill Walsh. You knew they would win the game. They were there a good 10 years, and you had 10 years of trends, and you're salivating, and you just knew how to bet them. And even Ditka and the 84 Bears and the 85 Bears, it was under every week. It was like Christmas Day. Oh, what's the Bears under? Oh, and they're in the 40s under. I mean, you couldn't score on the team. That's what you're looking for. And when I found Georgia a few years ago giving up 7 a game, it was, and they were like 50 totals. What are you, insane? How are you 50 totals on a Georgia game with that defense giving up? So it's basically Georgia 35, the other team 0, maybe 7. And so you stumbled onto this theory and this trend analysis. So the trend analysis now is not. It's not data from before. It's different data. It's offense and defense data. It's how is their quarterback playing? Who's their coach? So you're looking at a few other things besides just looking at the just looking at results. As I said, so with the Bears, what do you do with Caleb? Well, they don't have an offense and pretty good defense. So they're an under team. Now here comes this guy from Detroit. Good offensive coordinator at Detroit. My mother could have been a good offensive coordinator at Detroit. If there's 7 in the box, you're gonna run it. If there's 8, we're gonna throw it. Okay, you make the call. We had good receivers. We had good receivers. We had good running backs. We had a good line. So it's very hard to stop. Goff's not a good quarterback, but in this system, all he had to do was, throw the ball, like play action pass, throw it, which he was good at the Rams. But when you get into the big games, he chokes because, the defense comes, the pressure comes, and he folds up. But we know that. So that's what we've gone to is a more betting. Now, ironically, we bet Philly KC over, even though they had really good defenses. Philly was scoring a lot, as was KC. And we went to the Buffalo game, and we saw that I think it was 30-27 or 27-24. It was a high-scoring game. So I could realize KC wasn't going to stop Buffalo. And then Philly played a 50 game with Washington. So you knew Philly was going to score. And in the Super Bowl, you kind of score more. you're more adrenaline, you get more, you take more risk, you end up rolling. And I didn't think Philly's defense was going to be that effective on KC, but Mahomes still got you 17 points or something. And Philly put up they had a pick six and another pick to the 10-yard line. So a lot of the scoring was on their defense. So where you would think you wouldn't have scored because of their defense, the defense was scoring. So it was a little unusual, but you could see the way the two teams were playing. They were scoring a lot. And we know Mahomes, I think the number was like a low 50s or 49. So when you looked at it and you said, well, I need 43, I need 24-20, you knew you were going to get 24-20. You knew it'd be close. Well, I thought it'd be close, and I thought it would be that. So I was taking the over, which came in easy, and then it was whoever was the underdog. And thank God it was Philadelphia. If KC was the underdog, I'd have had it KC. And KC might have won if they were the dog. So you try to get it, but you try to look at other things. But generally in most games, you look at that. Who's the killer defense? And you're either betting them under or you're just taking the team. That's why we rank them as an A or a B team, right? Killer offense, killer defense, we're betting them. Okay offense, killer defense, we'll probably bet them under more. And then you got your under teams with a great defense and no offense. And then you're just betting them under. Then you get teams like Carolina, no offense and no defense, and Tennessee and Indy and the whole division, Jacksonville. Houston's got a great defense, no offense. Pittsburgh usually has a great defense, haven't had a quarterback since Terry Bradshaw, who wasn't a very good quarterback. So a lot of that goes to the coach. So Mike Tomlin, good defensive coach. Okay, so we're probably going to go under with Pitt a lot. Just the nature of the coach. He's going to run the ball, play defense. Coach Pete going to run the ball. He's a Marshawn Lynch and the killer defense. I can't remember the name. Legion of Boom. That was a beautiful defense. That was a beautiful under team. So you just have to see who the team is, but you have to be able to understand, are they a defensive team, an offense? What are they? And that's really what you're trying to do. That's the point I make, is learn the team. And then I carry it on to basketball, but I don't watch it. It would be the same thing, learn the team. Baseball, now the pitcher's more the defense than the quarterback. So when you get a Verlander or Scanes or Max Fried, they're going to shut you out. It's a beautiful take the team or take the under. And if the other pitcher's good, we're going under. If the other pitcher's bad, we assume Max Fried's going to beat them, like we had Colorado in a lock last time he played, and they won 13-1. And that's what you're trying to do. Skubal for Detroit, he had a pitch to two-hitter. He actually pitched 9 innings, amazingly enough. So that's why you don't want to bet against him, and he's going to stop the hitting. So a good pitcher stops the hitting every time. Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson, Carlton. I mean, you're not hitting those guys. Nolan Ryan. You're not betting Nolan Ryan over. So that's what you've got to understand, the fundamentals of why you're making the bet. That's just what I always tell you. Why are you making the bet? Well, the answer would be, look at this defense. They give up 14 a game. Look at this offense. They score 4. Look at the Lions. They play over games. They have a good offense. Their defense sucks. And off you go. Hudson said he won't be back. He might have cleared things, but believe me, he's mid-October, probably November earliest. He might play, but he shouldn't be, because he's not. I mean, if Cam Rising hurt his knee in the Rose Bowl in January, couldn't play at all for the year. He certainly wasn't ready for the Miami or for the Florida game in September. So all right, he was hurt in October. It was a little different. He broke 2 bones. Cam Rising had an ACL or DCL or something. He was more ligament. And this is the problem. What do you do with it? Now, Cam Rising actually got hurt in the USC game, going for 2 at the end. They won the game, and he hurt his knee. But he kept playing and then hurt it in the Rose Bowl. But this is what you have. So I doubt he'll be, even if he does play, shouldn't play before October. If he does, not going to be very good. He just won't be able. He won't be the same. Everybody thinks, oh, it's just 2 broken bones, not a problem. He'll come back just as strong, and you're not. It's not possible. You break a bone, it heals. You're not as strong. So as we go through, I give you all the teams that I've trended. And we go through the top 5 or 10 offenses and the top 5 or 10 defenses. And then we go, here are the weak ones. And I'm just doing this by points. So I've stumbled onto that going, if the team gives up 30 points a game, they got a shit defense. And we love betting against those. However, if it's a Georgia team giving up 7.5 a game, we love betting. And if the points are too high, we love betting the under there. Or we bet on Georgia, depending on how their quarterback is and how they're playing. Georgia's quarterback will be the new guy who played last year when Beck got hurt. I don't know where Beck's going. That's one thing we'll have to see. We'll avoid the Tennessee quarterback, Iglia Buglia. And then they got the new one, Joey Aguilar. Look for Tennessee to have a big year. Alabama will get a new quarterback, which is good because Milrose did not fit what the guy did at Washington with Penix. So now he gets his quarterback who can run his offense. Milrose could not read. He could not run the offense. How Seattle drafted Milrose. Well, he's a good, this is what kills me. Well, he's a good athlete. I don't want an athlete. They're all athletes. It's football. My right guard's an athlete. He can probably dunk a basketball. Refrigerator Perry could dunk a basketball. Did you want him as your quarterback? So this is the point. You want quarterbacks as quarterbacks. You want running backs as running backs and receivers as receivers. Again, as I said, if I was Baltimore, Lamar Jackson would be my speed receiver. He would never, ever be a quarterback. But Harbaugh is smarter than me, I guess. He keeps him there, and you haven't won a playoff game yet. I mean, okay, maybe the first few years. Now, what's the excuse? 4 interceptions against Buffalo in a big game. Joe Montana did not throw an interception in 4 Super Bowls. That's why he's a winner and Lamar's a loser. But why can't Harbaugh see this? What is wrong with the guy? So he's not a very good coach. But you're able to trend him the other way, but that's one way I trend it. There's maybe 8 to 10 teams I can use the old trend with, but then I'm looking at their offense and defense. They score a lot, and their defense pretty good. They seem to be better at home. They'll beat Buffalo at home, but they'll lose at Buffalo. I don't know what happened against Oakland and Cleveland. They blew 10-point leads in the fourth quarter. Then you're wondering, is the game fixed? How the fuck can you possibly do that? Because Lamar can't throw. So they just stack the line. They run to try to eat the clock. And Oakland gets the ball back. Baltimore's defense isn't that good. It's the same thing with, as I was talking, Indiana, New York. How could Indiana blow a 20-point lead? Because they're just shooting 3-point shots. And if they start missing, the Knicks got back into it. Well, yesterday, that was our lock, Indy -2.5, and they won by 15 or so. And Prophet said, well, should we take the Knicks? Because Indy's up 2-1, they can afford to lose. But you got to understand, this is why I go 10 phantoms deep in my analysis. But the game's in Indy. And if they lose, it's 2-2, and they go to New York, and then they're down 3-2, they could lose the series. So they have to win because the next game's in New York, and they did. They took care of it. Now we'll bet the house on New York, but I don't even know if they can win it. I don't know if they're good enough. They got lucky in one game when they were down 20. What kind of team's down 20 are you going to bet on? So that was it tonight. Minnesota lost by 2. Okay, they did win and lost by 2, so they're playing better. Here comes OKC at home. Crowd, all the role players, and we're going to bet a ton on OKC tonight because OKC has to win. They're tied at no, they're up 3-1. Yeah, I gotta rethink that. I thought it was 2-2. It's 3-1. We did win the Minnesota in 2.5 the last game. So this is probably, I think the spread's 6.5 or something. This is probably something where we think about Minnesota because Oak City can now afford to lose and Minnesota must win, even though it's at OKC. They're starting to play better against them the last 2 games. I would think Minnesota will play a big game. I don't know if they'll win, but again, they could lose by 5 and cover. And knowing how they fix games, you can win by 6 and no more. We'll see if that comes into it. So the key in everything you're analyzing is to understand the variables and understand how to get the results. So if I'm doing budgeting, I'm looking at last year's expenses. What did you spend? Oh, you mowed the lawn, you had insurance, groceries. Groceries went up. Your mortgage, that's probably fixed. Hopefully, if you're intelligent, you get a fixed mortgage. You don't get a variable. Is your car? Do you have a car payment? Is that paid off? You got insurance. You got gas. Did the prices change? And that's where you go, and that's how you analyze it. Basically, you're looking at this is what we spent last year. What are the changes? What did we gain and what did we lose on a budget? It's very simple. I got in trouble at Toyota, and I was way over the guy's head. There was a $1 million charge for landscaping because they had like 20 acres. They had to get it mowed, and it's Alabama, so they're doing it every week. I talked to the manager, and he said, yeah. I said, $1 million? And he says, yeah, $1 million. That's what it is. I researched it, and that was the best quote we got. Remember, though, it's warm, and it's every week. So I said, okay, that's fine. If you did, we need it done. And if you went to 3 guys, and I do the meeting with the VP and everything's, he's fine with it. And then I get some idiot Japanese guy who I was like 20 times smarter than, who's like yelling at me about the $1 million. But I didn't even know it was that kind of meeting. Says, didn't you look at it? You got to look at it. Why didn't you look at it? And I'm thinking, I did look at it, but I was prepared in the budget meeting. I don't know what the meeting was about. I wasn't really, if I'm thinking about football, I can't really answer stock questions. I mean, I've had that where my mind is so entrenched in what I'm thinking. You throw some other detail at me, I'm not prepared to answer it because if I'm thinking about baseball, I can't really answer, what's going on in China right now. So that's kind of what it was. And I'm thinking we already had this meeting, and I've already told you, and the VP was fine with it. What the fuck's your problem? And he kept yelling, and I kept saying, you're out of line. I played very stoic. I says, you're out of line. What are you yelling for? And, you got to check. I did check it. Like, I'm not an idiot. I did budgets for 4 years at Mercedes What the fuck are you talking about? You knew that. You interviewed me, and we had talked about what I did at Mercedes. So I was very disappointed, and it was very dysfunctional there about that, which is why I was glad I left. Look, if I can't impress you 4 years at Mercedes and you don't trust that I'm looking at that, go fuck yourself. And that's basically what I told him. I says, you're out of line. Okay. I never got yelled at Mercedes, but they trusted me. They knew if I said something, they had known that. Why didn't this guy? This guy never met me. I didn't know who he was. So I was pretty pissed off. I didn't like the Japanese uh, not respecting you for being American. I thought that was very bad. So that was the whole thing there. No, if you just, I got a master's and 20 years experience at Ford GM, Visteon, Hiram Walker, and Mercedes. You don't work, at these companies if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. So to even question that was, I thought, very disrespectful, and I hate being disrespected. That's probably my pet peeve. So probably somebody asked me for my weakness, I'd say being disrespected. I have high pride, and when I give you games, I'm very, that's why I don't like when the guy came on with Bitcoin. You're disrespecting me. Oh, you told me not to buy it, and now it's up to 100,000. I get that, but that's very disrespectful to come in when Bitcoin's at 100,000. You don't know how it's priced. It's price fixed, and come to me when it's 80,000 again, and then we can talk. But right now, I can't. I told you correctly that you shouldn't buy it because we don't know what it is. When I study it, I don't see why it's worth anything because it's not real. If it's not real, and I'm telling you not to buy it because I'm telling you what you should and shouldn't do. You should be out of the stock market. Well, the stock market's went up to 42, 43,000. You still should be out of it. It's going to crash. I can't give you the exact date, but I know soon it will crash. Soon comex will crash, and soon gold will hit 10,000. Soon silver will hit 2 or 3,000. But it's there's no exact date. You can't say March 23rd or July 4th or whatever. But that's how I look at trend analysis. Is it good? And you can't just look at a gold chart and go, well, this is what happened in 2008. The dollar was going down. The whole system is price fixed. The whole system's manipulated. You cannot look at any of that to get a trend analysis. Capiche? Do you understand? So that's kind of where I'm at. So when I see people pull out the chart, I just basically call them an idiot and turn it off, give them a negative saying, you don't know what you're doing. You're not smart enough to understand variables. And that's the problem. So college football this year, the problem is all these changes. So what I'm telling you is, wait a minute, the trend analysis isn't going to work in college. I can immediately see with NIL, we need new systems. But I am able to go, well, if we use the one we're using in pros with all the new coaches and all the new quarterbacks, if I use that and I find the stud defenses and the wide open offenses, we'll be okay. We'll just do college the way we do pros. And so usually like your Texas Tech, your Baylors, your TCUs, those are your explosive teams. And usually you can tell by the quarterback. So we see Adagio Pava, who nobody's heard of. He's at New Mexico State. He's got 20 touchdowns and 2 picks. We start betting on New Mexico State. Then he transfers to Vanderbilt. They beat Alabama and only lose to Texas by 3. And now we go, we found our bitch in college. It's Tagovailoa. Joey Aguilar, App State. Now he's at Tennessee. We're going to be betting him. So it's looking at the stats to find the players. So A gives you the B. Let me see the quarterback. Who's good? Who's bad? When you see the guy with 2 touchdowns and 10 picks, we're staying away from that guy, right? And so that's what you look. That's what Uglia Buglia was, right? 5 touchdowns, 10 picks, and he sucked. Sucked at Clemson, sucked at Oregon State, and we knew he was going to suck at Florida State. We didn't know why Florida State even, and it's supposedly, I don't know if they paid him. They probably didn't pay him. They don't, just because they do it doesn't mean they have to pay the guy. It's just the carrot in front, and then they said, "No, we're not going to feed you. You sucked." And the guy at Vegas did that, where they weren't going to pay him. He was their starter. So I'm not quite sure. I don't buy this. We're going to pay some guy $4 million who was a backup quarterback somewhere to play. I'm not buying, Tennessee's paying Joey Aguilar $3 million. You really don't know what it is. It's so weird because they're not pros, and that was the whole thing before. With Fab Five. Oh, wait, they took money for a pizza. Oh my God, that's terrible. Now you'd have had to pay them all $5 million to play together. So I don't know. Nothing makes sense anymore. But we know variables are changing. And at the end of the day, you still have the defense and you still have the offensive numbers. Those you can't change. Those, it doesn't matter who the coach and quarterback are, whatever it is, it is. If they're giving up 7 points a game, we're betting them under. I don't care if it's Virginia, Wake Forest, Duke, Alabama, or UCLA. Whoever has that strong defense, we're betting. And that's what we look for. And who's putting up 40 points a game. Look at Indiana last year. They were great. They put up 40, 50 points a game. We bet them a lot. We bet them over a lot. I think that Curtis Rourke will be a good pro because watching him at Indiana, he had a good game against Ohio State. He killed Michigan. They only had 1 loss, Indiana. So he's a good quarterback. He had like 28 touchdowns and 4 picks or something. So that's all you can judge it by is touchdowns and interceptions because are they productive? If we drive down the field, are we going to get touchdowns or not? And that's really the key to it. I'm not sold on Prime Jr. Mostly he threw to the other guy, the two-way player, whatever his name is. He threw to him a lot, but in the big games, he didn't show up. They lost to BYU. They lost to Kansas. I think Arizona State beat them. There was 3 or 4 bad losses they had, which kept them out of the playoff. I think they lost 3 games. Where was he? Didn't show up. So we're always looking for what variable is going to help us pick the winners. And fortunately, in football, I got it down solid. Baseball, I'm struggling because I'm taking a 2 ERA against the 7 ERA, and the 7 ERA is winning, and you're going, this doesn't make sense. That happened the other day. I think Colorado, one of those teams, and they had a 7 ERA guy. The guy was 0-7 with the 7 ERA going against the 2.5, and the 7 ERA wins. And you're like, what the fuck? He's got the 7 ERA. He can't pitch. Why? You should have got 5-6 runs off the guy. And then the 2 ERA, they shouldn't score more than 2 or 3 runs on him. So that's the problem I have in baseball that I don't have in football. I'm not really, I'm betting Mahomes, but I'm watching, they win a lot of close games. Okay, so I'm not going to lay 10 with KC, but if they're under a field goal or they're a dog, I'm going to bet them. However, I'm going to be very careful if they're favored against Cincinnati. I will bet Cincinnati and Joe Burrow, who you cannot fuck with if he's the dog. There's certain quarterbacks as the dog, you bet them. Josh Allen, Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Stafford's getting there. He's got a pretty good team this year. Brock Purdy and the Niners were good. I don't know. Is McCaffrey playing this year? And then Cleveland, if they go with, depending who they go with, are they going to go with Flacco for 4 or 5 games and then slide in Dylan Gabriel? If they go to Prime Junior, we're just going to bet against them or under in every game. Cam Ward is not good. We'll be betting against him. Richardson's more of an over team because he runs for touchdowns, but he can't throw for touchdowns. Seattle's going to be terrible. The Rams will win the West. The Niners, we got to see. They added 3 or 4 good defensive players. They seem to have a good defensive team. And then offensively, Purdy's fine. You lost Deebo Samuel. I think Ayuk's back and a couple other players. And then is McCaffrey there? And that's the key. I heard one guy talk about Pearson, the wide receiver from Florida. And I'm like, no, he sucks. Forget about him. He wasn't good. I don't know where they got him from. He wasn't a good receiver at Florida. Why would you draft him? So I don't even think he can catch very well. So you just go down, you're looking at, does the team have a good offense or defense? The one thing about football is once a week, pro and college. I mean, occasionally you got the Sunday, Thursday games, but basically once a week. So you can study the team. You have time to understand the team, look at the points, go, okay, they give up 10 a game. Yeah, they're probably good defense. You can look at the quarterback stats and get all that. So that's why you can't do that. And that's why with gold and silver, you're looking at not past charts, but you're looking at brics. Brics is the new variable. Gold's at 3,300. It is not in a bubble. I read you that yesterday or the day before. A bubble is when there's the anxiety and I don't want to miss out. And it's just going to, like Bitcoin. Oh, it's going to 200,000. Well, why? Well, I don't know, but it is. So Bitcoin's in a bubble. So it's the stock market. Oh, it'll keep going up and up and up. Are you kidding? We're in a recession. Are you kidding? There's tariffs. Everything costs more. There's no way the stock market's going up and up and up. It's going down, down, down. Some of it's algorithms where the ETF goes up, so the stock goes up. See, a lot of it's bullshit. A lot of it is these algorithms that are really controlling comex and controlling that. Hey, profit. That's what they're kind of doing. So it's not even real trading. It's the algorithm making the trades. And, they're going to cost a lot of people a lot of money because they're all wrong. So in what we know with brics and all the central banks buying gold should go up, and then silver also. So we are caught in we're at 3,300, trying to get wondering why we're not at 3,500 by now. We have a month, July 1st. They will have to cover when the other countries take delivery. So on comex, they take delivery. You have to pay them in physical because nobody wants the dollar anymore. I was watching China. China's broke except for the 60,000 tons of gold they have, and that's the key. But China, it's weird. There's nobody there. Everybody's leaving. All the companies are moving out. And then I see all the German car companies are leaving the U.S., going to China because of the tariffs. Aha. So you fucked up, Trump. You think, well, we're going to tariff and everybody will move here, and you're wrong. Everybody's moving out. The ones that could make the cars, the Germans and the Japanese, have left because they can't handle the tariffs. Ford and GM have already been in China, so I don't know. And we'll see from there, but they can't afford the higher tariff costs for steel and tires and lights and everything, whatever they put in the car. Trump's bankrupting the country. The question is he stupid and doing it on purpose, or is he just stupid and doing it because he doesn't know? He's looking at the tariffs as a way to generate income. And I think it's the second way. I think he's stupid. I don't think he knows what he's doing. I think he's focused on, well, if I do tariffs, I'll get 37 trillion in on the tariffs, and then I'll be the god because I got us out of the $37 trillion debt. But he can't. Like I said, there's only one way to do it. I would buy a shitload of gold and raise the gold price up, and then take my gold. Now it's worth 37 trillion and get us out of the debt. It's the only way you can do it. Maybe a Rolex, maybe Picasso's, but you got to pay a lot for them. Gold and silver you can get for 35 an ounce. I'd be buying truckloads of silver and then let the silver price run to 10,000, and then I could pay off the debt. That's his only hope. There is no other hope. And I'm tired of these Keynesians with their stupid ideas that don't work, and people still follow them. It's just amazing. I don't know. Anyway, so let's get into some baseball. Let's see, we're gold's 32.95. We don't even worry about it. Silver 33.02. Again, those aren't real prices. Those are bullshit prices. Let's see what the Dow's doing. See, the Dow at 42 is down 118. I mean, this isn't even close to reality. This thing should be in the 20s by now. So again, very bad information. Prices are information. That's what you're looking at. All right, let's see. So yesterday, the Dodgers won 9-5. Tanner Bibby lost to Dustin May. I don't know why I didn't have over. I think because Cleveland, I don't think hits a lot and has a good bullpen. I don't know where the bullpen was. The Dodgers win. We had Cleveland. Had Baltimore. They lost to St. Louis 7-4. Detroit wins 3-1 over the Niners. I have the Niners under 7.5. Flaherty gives up 1 run to the Niners. Logan Webb with the 2.82 ERAs. Why I bet the game under. He only gave up 3 runs to Detroit, which is good. And Logan Webb, who's been pitching well, just gave up 3. He gave up all 3. Philly 2, Atlanta nothing. We had Philly. The Vikings over Tampa. We had the Vikings. We had the Mets over the White Sox, another winner. We had KC, Milwaukee, Boston. Where's that? Cincinnati 7, KC 2. KC loses. Brady Singer with a 4.60 beat KC, who had a good pitcher going. See, this is the problem. Cincinnati went 7-2. They could lose 3-0 today. This is the problem with baseball, very inconsistent based on averages. The Cubs over Colorado 4-3. We have the Cubs over 7. It's a push. And it went 11 innings. The Cubs must have been a huge favorite because I didn't take the Cubs because you just bet against Colorado. So they're like 350. So I think that's why we went with the over. And again, it's shocking that this was 4-3 in the Cubs. Texas 2, Toronto nothing. We had Texas. That's a winner. Houston 11-1 over Oakland. Hunter Brown 7-3 with a 2-0. That's a winner. We have the Yanks under 9. That was a winner. They won 3-2. Rodon against Anderson, 2 low ERA pitchers, 3-2. Pitt 9, Arizona 6. I have Arizona. I lose. All of a sudden, Pitt scores 9, and then they won't score. They'll lose 2-0 today. What's going on? We got San Diego over 7.5 to Miami. That's a winner. And we have Seattle over 8.5 is a winner. They win 9-1 over Washington. The picks, 49ers under 7.5, 2 units a winner. Philly, 2 units a winner. Cubs push over 7. Texas is a winner. Arizona, we lose. So we go 1-1. We go 3-1 with a push. Okay, that's not bad. As I said in the NBA, we had OKC. No, we had Indiana. I believe, well, let's look. Who the hell did we have? We won the game. I think it was Indiana. Yeah. So we had Indiana -2. They won 130-121. They do play higher scoring games. So that was a good game. Profit. That's why we didn't look at the fact that they could afford to lose because they couldn't because they were at home. And then they go to New York. So if they lost that one and then they lost at New York, then they're going to lose at New York. So they had to win. So now they're up 3-1. And then we take the Knicks in game 5. And today we got OKC 8.5 to Minnesota. We take Minnesota. OKC's up 3-1. Minnesota played them tough the last 2 games, winning by 100 and losing by 2. So now Minnesota kind of feels a little bit better. They got a lot of talent. They got a pretty good defense. So now it's basically take Mini in a must-win game, right? They're down 3-1. They have to win. But will they? We don't care if they win. We just care if they cover 8.5. So take Minnesota and 8.5. Back against the wall. They must win. OKC, they've kind of played them the last 2 games, so they know how to play them now. And I doubt OKC is going to blow them out. So go Minnesota tonight. We'll take the Knicks tomorrow. Again, the team that has to have it back against the wall. It gets complicated game 7s when both teams need it. All right, so let's look at baseball today. Profit, $104 billion deal. I don't think Trump saw this coming. Oh, you're talking the German manufacturers going to China? I was thinking Indy was already up 3-1 last night for some reason. Yeah, well, that, but they were 2-1, but had they lost, they're 2-2. Going to New York, they're going to be down 3-2. They couldn't do that. They had to win at home, especially after losing the 20-point lead. They're capable. They match up well against them. So when you see teams blow 20-point leads, they generally beat you the next game because they obviously have the talent. It's just stop shooting 3-point shots. So I assume you're talking 104 is the German manufacturers leaving the U.S., losing jobs and losing tax. And it's not going to be replaced. And these are car plants. And they go to China. And everything Trump's doing is dumber and dumber. And if he's listening to Scott Simpson, he's a fucking idiot. I'm telling you, Scott Brissett doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's a Keynesian. He's a Soros guy. If anything, they want the U.S. to collapse. Does Trump want the U.S. to collapse, or is Trump just stupid? I believe he's stupid. I believe he's, American. I don't think he can lie about that, but I think what he's doing with tariffs, when has it ever worked? I think it worked in like the 1790s when we were just forming and we tariffed the British for cotton and stuff like that. I mean, in today's world, you can't tariff. You have to have free trade. I don't know why it's so difficult. Free trade, low taxes, gold, and you'll be a successful country. Why is this so difficult to comprehend? I just don't get it. But people like to do the hard route. They like to be Keynesians. It must be easier to be a Keynesian than an Austrian. I don't know. The guy at the club goes to me, did you read Hayek, who's a Austrian? I don't know if he's an Austrian or not. And I said, no, I listened to Adam Smith. And he gives me a look like, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You didn't read Hayek. And I'm like, well, I read maybe a chapter in my master's class, but that we go off of Adam Smith and Say's Law and Invisible Hand and things like that. That's what we go off of, not Hayek. I don't go off of Milton Friedman. I do like Thomas Sowell. Economics from him or Friedman. I learned it from Adam Smith. I don't know what's so hard about it. It's a logic thing. What is the market? What will it do? And I show you the market. I understand the market from Adam Smith. That's really the key to Austrian economics. Canada-China oil deal, 104 billion. Well, China needs oil. They're already getting it from Saudi Arabia, and I know they get some from Russia. So they need a lot of oil. As I showed you yesterday, though, one of China's big problem is that bullet train. They're losing a fortune on it because they got to build the trains and they got to build the track that goes, it's 350 kilometers an hour. It's a fast moving train. And so you've got that. And then now you got to charge more to get your money out. And when they charge more, they're going on the slower moving one because they're only $10 to go on that. People don't have money. The economy doesn't work. The government can't spend for us because they don't know how to spend what we want, right? We'll go on the slower train because it makes sense financially. It's a $10 thing instead of a $100 thing. When we were in Italy, it made more sense for me and Jenna to take the water taxi than take a regular taxi. Because we took it to Positano and it was 20 minutes, you're on the water. There's no stop and go traffic. And to go there and back was about the same as it would have cost you in a taxi because the taxis were kind of shady. It was only about 5 or 6 miles and it should have costed $10, but they wanted like 40. And so it was definitely fucked up. But yeah, well, it's good that Canada is selling their oil to China. And the U.S. is just sitting there. I honestly think the U.S. is run by England. I don't think we run our own country. I think England runs it. That's why you see the dollar, the British pound stronger than the dollar. It makes no sense. How can the British pound, they're broke, be worth anything? All right, let's get to baseball. Minnesota, Tampa. This is 110. It's 12. Tampa Bay 130-8. Pablo Lopez 4-2 with the 2.31. Drew Rasmussen 3-4 with the 2.6. So we'll start off with Minnesota under 8. And this is like football. I'm looking at the pitching. They're both 2.5 ERAs. There shouldn't be a lot of run scoring because they show you you only scored 2.6 runs against the guy on Tampa, Rasmussen. So it should be a lower scoring game. Neither of these teams really hit well. Tampa 4 hitters, Minnesota 4. So It'll be a 3-2 game, I think. The White Sox and the Mets 250 and 8. Shane Smith 1-3 with the 2.36 for the White Sox. Griffin Canning 5-1 with the 2.88 for the Mets. Again, what should be a low-scoring game. Canning 5-1 with the 2.88. We can bet the Mets, but you're laying 250, or you figure this probably go under. The White Sox don't really hit well. The Mets kind of do. So I think the Mets win, and I think it's low scoring. So do I want to go 250 or 8? And I think we'll go Mets to win. And we'll go 2 units on it. Boston and Milwaukee. Milwaukee minus 150, 7.5. Pretty big number against Boston. Brian Bello 2-1 with the 4.08. Freddie Peralta 5-3 with the 2.55. So a really good pitcher from Milwaukee. Okay pitcher Bello for Boston. It's in Milwaukee, not at Fenway. I think I'll just take Milwaukee here. See, my decision's Milwaukee or the under, and I don't like the under with a 4 ERA Bello, so let's go that. 49ers in Detroit. The 49ers are favored again, 105, 7.5. Layden Rupp, 3-3 with the 3.63 against Jackson Joby, 4-1 with the 4.06. Joby's not very good, but the Tigers are much better at home. I'm actually going to take Detroit here, and I'll play him for 2 units. There's Landon Rupp's 3-3 with the 3.63. He's okay. He's not great. Joby 4-1 with the 4.06. So I'm looking at, I think Detroit will win at home. 7.5 is a little too low. I don't know. Joby with the 4 ERA. He was a high draft pick. He's been hurt. Now he's there. And I don't see that he's that good, but he is better at home. Tiger Stadium is a harder place to score because it's a big ballpark. So we'll go with the Tigers. I really don't understand why the Niners are favored. The Dodgers, Cleveland, a high-scoring game. The Dodgers scored a lot of runs. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. The Dodgers minus 175 and 9. Clayton Kershaw and his 7.50 ERA. He sucked last game. Colby Allard 2-0 with the 1. Colby Allard, is he a regular pitcher? Or is he a bullpen guy? 6 innings, 4-1. Okay, he's more of a bullpen guy. That means he goes 3 innings, 2 innings. Cleveland has a pretty good bullpen, as we saw against the Tigers. Kershaw. See, Kershaw would beat Detroit because they got all these lefty hitters, and he'd bat the righties because it's all fake. The 300 lefty hitters are only against right-handed hitting. What a terrible manager. I think he thinks he's being clever, but he's not. You should get your 300 hitters should hit both sides of the plate and get the true average in that. Instead, you keep pinch hitting with guys hitting 100. So you're pulling your 300 hitter out for a guy with 100, and then you do too much of this position switch. It's, he'll play second base. Oh, he's going to play left field. Now he's going to play third base. You can't do that. You can't. I played second base. I played shortstop in softball. I'm not a third baseman. I could play a little outfield. Just leave me at short or second. Thank you very much. Kershaw, not too good. Cleveland doesn't hit a lot. I'm going to go under here. I'm going to go Cleveland under 9. All right. Oakland, Houston. Houston minus 135, 8.5. They killed them yesterday. Luis Servino, 1-4 at the 4.11 against Lance McCullers, 0-1, 6.57. He's been injured, just starting to come back. We're going to go Houston over 8.5. We'll go 2 units on this. Oakland can hit. Obviously, their pitching sucks. Pitt, Arizona. Pitt All of a sudden they hit. Pitt doesn't score. Skeins pitches, they lose 2-1 every time. And then they put up 9 against Arizona yesterday. Arizona 135, 7.5. Paul Skeins 3-5 with the 2.36. Zach Gallen 3-6 with the 5.25. Can you please explain how Arizona is a 135 favorite and we've got Skeins for Pittsburgh? We got to take Pitt as a dog, 2 units. This is a joke. This is Mahomes as a dog right here. This is Joe Burrow as a dog. Paul Skeins, he's a dog. He might be 3-5. He's got a 2.36 ERA. I can't bet under because it's 7.5. I should bet under, but then I got Zach Allen with the 5.25 ERA. So I can't bet Zach Allen, and I can't bet the game under with the 5.25. So it's a perfect take Skeins with the 2.5 ERA against a 5.5 ERA, and they won yesterday. So we're going Skeins. That makes a lot of sense. We would go under if they had won 2-1 yesterday, but they scored like 9 runs. Miami, San Diego. San Diego 178.5. Sandy Alcantara, who was really good a year or two ago, but not so good this year. 2-7 with the 804. Kyle Hart 2-2 with the 6. This is going to be our lock of the day. We're going San Diego over 8.5, and this will be 3 units. Both teams can hit. Both pitchers suck, a 6 and an 8, and you're only looking at 8.5. How Vegas is coming up with these numbers, I think they're on drugs. How is Skeins the dog, and then how is this 8.5? This should be 10. All right, St. Louis at Baltimore. Baltimore 120-8. Miles McCullough 4-2 with the 3.51. Cade Povich 1-3 with the 4.86. I'm going to go over here. We'll go St. Louis over 8. I'm not going to bet it. Atlanta, Philly. We had Philly. They won 2-0 yesterday. Ranger Suarez is back. That's why you got to dig into the numbers. ERA is like 4, but if you look at the last 3 games, it's like a 1. We played it that way, and they won 2-0. So now he shut them out. Philly 157.5. AJ Smith-Sawyer for Atlanta, 3-2 with the 3.67. Not bad. Zach Wheeler 6-1 with the 2.42. We're gonna go under. Phil under 7.5. We're not gonna bet it because they both are very good hitting teams, but Zach Wheeler, but Smith-Sawyer's pretty good with a 3.67. So this should be an under bet because of the pitching. But we're just gonna go fill it. Well, yeah, we are gonna go under. We're just not gonna bet it. Cincinnati, KC. Cincinnati woke up and scored a lot yesterday. Cincinnati 115, 7.5. Hunter Green for Cincy 4-2, 254. Noah Cameron 1-1 with the 0.93. What is this about? See your reliever. He's pitched 3 games. No, he's 6-6-6, and he's given up at worst 1 run in 6 innings in 3 games. Hunter Green 4-2 with a 2.54. So this is an under 7.5. So we go KC under 7.5. We'll go 2 units here. So we believe Cincinnati's guy or KC's guy is going to go 6 innings, and Hunter Green 6 innings. So there's not going to be a lot of runs in 6 innings. Then hopefully your aces come out of the bullpen. But again, the managers are so bad. Colorado and the Cubs. This was a 7-run game yesterday. Hard to figure out. The Cubs did get the win, I think, in 11 innings. The Cubs, again, minus 350 and 8. They're telling you we don't want you to bet on the Cubs. Or we're telling you we don't want you to bet against Colorado. It's one of those two. Tanner Gordon for Colorado, 1-1 with a 4.38. One of their better pitchers. Matthew Boyd, 4-2 with the 3.42. I don't know. Colorado started putting up runs, didn't yesterday. Chicago at home, 8. They got a lot of hitters. They should get that. Boyd can pitch pretty well. I'm just going to go with the Cubs, but I can't bet it because it's 350. Bet 350 to win 100. It's hard because if you lose, you're killing yourself. Toronto and Texas. Texas 125, 8.5. Eric Lawyer 1-1 with a 3.31. Tyler Mall 5-2 with a 1.80 for Texas. Excuse me. 5-2 with the one. Toronto Lawyer. I'm going to go Texas here. I'm not betting it. Texas, I don't know. They don't hit. Good. Maybe it's an under. Yeah, let's go under 8.5. Still won't bet it, but that's what the decision makes. Do I bet the pitcher who's with the 1.80, or do I bet the game under? And the other pitcher's got a 3.31, so that's kind of the decision. The Yanks in California. The Yanks, I believe, won. Well, we had the Yanks under 9. I think they won like 3-2. California's been hot. They swept the Dodgers, but now they're starting to come down to earth. Yanks minus 160 and 9. Clark Schmidt 1-2 with the 4.58 for the Yanks. UC Kikuchi 1-4 with the 3.17 for California. California pretty much can't hit. Aaron Judge should get some hits. I think we'll just take the Yanks in this one. And Washington, Seattle. We got Seattle minus 210 and 8. Wow. Trevor Williams 2-5 with the 6.39, and George Kirby 0-1 with the 12.7 is a 210 favorite. Are you kidding me? Another line that makes absolutely no sense. I'm going to go Seattle over 8, and I'll go 2 units on that. That makes sense. Washington has 3 hitters, and Seattle has 2 hitters, I believe. So you're dealing with teams that don't hit, but you're dealing with pitchers, a 6 and a 12. I mean, what do you, it's crazy. What do you think about taking Colorado plus 2 minus 110 instead of the Cubs at minus 332? I don't really get into the points in baseball. Matthew Boyd's pitching pretty good. Tanner Gordon. The problem I have is the hitting, but it's in Chicago. It's in Wrigley. So the edge, it's a big edge for Chicago because Colorado's like won 3 games on the road. So pretty much Chicago's got the better pitcher, the better hitting. They're at home. They should win the game. And what you're saying is, well, you're playing the wrong. So you're looking at the money and you go, well, if I take 2 runs, I get it even. And I'm saying, are you sure they're only going to lose by 1 run? Because they're going to lose, and it could get ugly. So I don't like that bet. I don't like looking. I like picturing the game. So picture the game, and who do you think's going to win? And give me a score, and then does that fit in? Is it going to be a close scoring game? And that's where I'm struggling. I really don't. I know the Cubs with all the Colorado, they got 2 hitters, and they are very bad on the road. Maybe in Colorado. I don't see it here. And, this pitcher's, Matthew Boyd's 4-2 with the 3.42. But Colorado's Tanner Gordon's 1-1 with the 4.38. So I think the Cubs will score. Now this is where we get into offense defense. Now let's go to this game. Texas Toronto asked me the same question. Tyler Mahle 5-2 with the 1.80. I would take Texas if they're getting to that. They're going to shut down Toronto. If there's a money line on that, then I would say that's the type of pitcher you want to take the +2 or the +3 with. Otherwise, I would not. I would money line the Cubs. They're going to win 95 out of 100 of these just because Colorado is so bad, but that's why you're paying it. But we have a pretty good pitcher in Boyd. If the pitcher, if it was, let's switch it. let's say it was Sandy Alcantara on Miami with an 8.04 ERA. If he was pitching for the Cubs, I would say take the points. But you got a pitcher that on paper looks hard to hit. So if he's hard to hit, I don't want anything to, I'm not going to take 2 runs. They might not score. The Cubs at home might put up 4 or 5 and win 5-1 very easily. The odds on the Cubs winning goes to the better pitcher, and they're at home. And Colorado basically is the worst team in baseball. Colorado is 9-46. So you want to bet a 9-46 that you think they're gonna is 2 a push? Do you win with 2? Well, a 2-run loss would be a push. So they can only lose by a 1. Now we know they're going to lose because they stink on the road and they stink anyway. So I would say if you want to play that, take the Yankees and California. Give me the details on that game. All I see is the Yankees 160-9. I don't know what the runs are. California +2 at home would be I would say that's a better bet. I just don't like risking that big number. Well, then don't play it. It's like college football. I mean, we laid 24 points with Texas State against that real shitty team. And do they have the offense to do it? So it depends on the type of team you have. You're going to win this game 95 out of 100 times. The Cubs will win it. They won yesterday. I know it was like 11 innings. They're at home. I don't know. Is there an injury? Not sure. But then don't play it, right? I don't play -300. And I'm agreeing with you. I don't play it either. I took the Cubs. I really wanted under, but it's hard to play under at Wrigley. So I'm just going to take the Cubs, but I'm not going to bet it because it's too high. You just throw that out. However, if you're really confident on they're going to win, what's the difference? So you bet 300 to win 100. That's okay. As long as it wins, does it really matter if you lay 200 to win 100 or 300 to win 100 or 400 to win 100? You guys want to bet on Alabama at laying 1,000 to win 100 in college football on a money line because you're scared of laying 24 points. And but you'll lay 500, 700, 800 to win 100 with an Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State. So really, I don't see much different than if you're willing to do that. Well, who cares about 300? It's all about building your bankroll. So that's how I would present it. And if it's too high, then don't bet it. But your odds on winning it are probably 95%. With Colorado winning, I think 3 games on the road, and they're 9-46. Are you really scared of losing a 300 to win 100 with a team that's won 9 games? And of the 9, I think they were mostly at home. I think they're like 3-30 on the road. Are you really that worried about risking 300 to win 100 on this? I don't know. A lot depends on your bankroll, and maybe I would, make it $100 bet to win 30 or something. You don't have to bet 300 to win 100. But that's how you got to look at it. Do you want to bet? Do you want to bet Colorado getting the 300? I mean, you want to take 2 runs. What's the odds if you took Colorado? I mean, if you're afraid of the 300, that thing, you must think Colorado can win, then maybe you take, you bet 100 to win. I don't think they say they fuck you with that. You don't win 300 the other way. So it's 350, the Cubs, but it's not like you get 350 with Colorado, which is why I hate the money lines. Especially college football. Alabama would be 10 grand, but if you take the other team, you get 2,500. Well, why don't I get 10 grand? What's going on? So, yeah, you got to get that out of your mind. If it's a good bet, bet it. If it's not a good bet, don't. But the 300 shouldn't come into play. Colorado is at plus 292. So if you're afraid of the Cubs at 333, then then take Colorado at 292. It's a sucker bet because they have like a 2% chance of winning the game, especially against a pretty good pitcher. If they had an ace on the mound, yes. If they had a bad Cubs pitcher, I could say, well, they could get hot. So that's how I would look at it. All right, so that's baseball. Let's review Minnesota under 8, and that starts soon. We got the Mets, 2 units. We got Milwaukee. We got Detroit, 2 units. We got Cleveland under 9. Houston over 8.5. Pitt, 2 units. San Diego over 8.5, 3 units. St. Louis over 8. Philadelphia, a good series with Atlanta under 7.5. KC under 7.5. The Cubbies, Texas under 8.5. The Yanks in Seattle over 8. There was a couple of live dogs I gave you. I think Washington's a live dog against Seattle. George Kirby's got a 12.27 ERA. That's where you like the dog. This guy, what's he going to do? Shut him out with the 12 ERA? Well, maybe he will. Let's see. Kansas City's 1-1 with a .93. He's pitched 3 games. He's given up 1 run twice. Against Hunter Green, 4-2 with a 2.54. Very live dog with Kansas City, and I think a very strong under. Atlanta, Philly, very strong under. Zach Wheeler, 6-1 with a 2.42. I wouldn't bet against him. Baltimore, St. Louis is a live dog with Miles McCullough. Great over in Miami, San Diego. Both pitchers suck. Scanes. Now there's your play profit. Arizona is a 135. I'm going to make this 3 units. Pittsburgh won yesterday like 9-4. You got Arizona as a 135, and you've got Scanes going for Pitt 3-5 with the 2.36 against Zach Allen 3-6 with the 5.25. So if you're looking for a dog to play, here it is. Now, Arizona's 135, so you're not going to get 300. You're going to get maybe minus 110 or plus 110 with Scanes. That is the dog you want to get. That's the money line play, is Scanes getting points, Mahomes getting points, Joe Burrow getting points. This is the stud Scanes. That's who you want to bet. And Zach Allen's 3-6 with the 5.25. That's where I would focus my money on today, is Pittsburgh and Scanes. That's your play. Same thing with the Dodgers in Cleveland. The Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw is terrible, 0-0 with a 7.50. Kobe Allard, 2-0 with a 1.50. They're a 175 favorite. Cleveland, very live dog. The Niners and the Lions. Jackson Joby, 4-1 with a 4.06. The Niners are favored, but I think they're both probably 105. I would bet Detroit as the dog. That's a live dog. Where else? That's about it. So that, if you're really hunting that, you look for the stud pitcher Scanes getting points. That's what you want to focus on. Forget the Cubs in Colorado. Maybe Colorado can hang around for a while. You can't bet Colorado. You cannot bet on a team. We do not bet on teams that have won 9 games and have won 3 on the road out of 30. We don't bet losers. We bet winners. We bet Mahomes. We bet Burrow. We bet Philadelphia. That's who we bet on. We bet the studs to win. That's what you look for. We bet on Joe Montana. We bet on Tom Brady. We do not bet against them. So the whole notion of betting against the Cubs, you got to be crazy. And like I said, maybe you bet it over or under, okay. But if you're looking for that situation, it's Skeins, it's the Tigers, they're dogs. Although I don't know if the Tigers are dogs, but Skeins would be the top dog today. And if you lose with Skeins with this 2.3 ERA, you lose. But Pitt did score like 7 or 8 runs yesterday. So they're hitting. And if they hit, Skeins is going to win, guaranteed. That's the key, playing the live dogs. Well, it's always the key in any sport. I think Minnesota's a live dog in basketball today because they're down 3-1, but they played them good the last 2 games. Have to win or they're eliminated. Look for Minnesota to play a great game. Will it be enough? I don't know, but they're not going to get blown out here. The Knicks in the next game, I believe what they are at home, game 5, they must win. But I don't think they'll be a dog. But if they are a dog, that would be a live dog there. But that's why you're looking at Mahomes when he's a dog. Baltimore plays Buffalo week 2. You're going to get Lamar as a dog. Joe Burrow will be a dog to Baltimore. That's always a joke because Joe Burrow's 20 times better than Lamar. So you've got that. And, I mean, that's all you need to see. And how are they going to guard Chase? Baltimore can't. They don't have an answer for Chase. Nobody has an answer for Chase. Nobody's got an answer for Jefferson either. There's a few, Tyreek Hill. How are you going to guard him? You just have Tua, so that's the neutralizer. He's not very good. All right, so that's baseball. The bets, the Mets, 2 units. Houston over 8.5, 2 units. We got Pittsburgh as 3 unit. Kind of our lock for the day. San Diego over 8.5. Both pitchers suck. KC under 7.5. We just look, both pitchers are strong. And we're going Seattle over 8, 2 units. We're not playing the Yankees. They don't have a good pitcher going. And this is where the strategy of betting baseball turns into betting the pitchers. And this is what it's about. We see Skeins. Skeins is Montana. Skeins is Mahomes. You're going to bet him. And there's a handful of Skeins in the league. Max Fried of the Yankees. Schoolball at the Tigers. And that's what you're really looking at. Those are the guys you bet on, the stars. That's the key to gambling sports. You find the star, you bet them. You don't fuck around with the Cubs in Colorado unless you're betting the game over. You go with the stars. Skeins, beautiful. And that's really what there's a reason they're stars. They win. They're winners. That's why we bet the Phillies and the Eagles and Kansas City and Cincinnati and Buffalo. These are winners, and that's what you're trying to do. What you try to do then is we really analyze the Buffalo-Baltimore game. Now, we expect Buffalo to win at home, but we expect it to be close, and we expect to tease the dog, which should be Baltimore. And the best thing that can happen is Buffalo wins 17-14, 27-24. Because now Baltimore, off of a loss, has to win the next game, and that's when Lamar's good, playing a weak team off the law. Then they win, but they're not good against a good team. They're good against the weak teams. So unless they have Kansas City the week after, and if they do, you hope they lose that game, and then you bet them when they play a crap team. And that's where the defense comes in. So you want to play Lamar when they play a 25 defense, not against the 16 defense. That's points per game. So he's tough against Kansas City with the tough defense. It's going to be tough when they play Pittsburgh. If Pittsburgh gets their defense back, Ham and Lambert and Joe Green's back. That's why they won. I mean, their defense, you couldn't really. How are you going to beat it, right? So that's why you bet the defensive team. They kill the quarterback. So that's what you're looking for. All right. So that's baseball. Basketball is simple. Take Minnesota tonight. And I don't care about hockey. Not since Bobby Orr's not on the team anymore. And then football, we can quickly check if there's any news. Terry Bradshaw doesn't want Aaron Rodgers on Steelers. That's a joke. What the fuck? Who cares what Terry Bradshaw says? Is the clock ticking on Rodgers? No, apparently, if Rodgers wants to join, he joins. He doesn't want to come to the mini camps. He probably doesn't want to come to the preseason. Rodgers drops massive and he'll sign with Steelers, right? See, and also Bradshaw's very insecure, so he doesn't want Rodgers to be the best Steeler quarterback. But he was terrible, Bradshaw. Oh, all the turnovers he would make. Cousins, Atlanta, 180 million, QB2, no shows, Falcons, OTAs. Who gives a fuck? Fields has up and down Jets practice and misses sacks. So where does anybody think Fields is good? What tells you Fields is good? The shit he did at the Bears or the shit he did at Pittsburgh? What is it why is he in the league? I don't understand. Why is Mitch Trubisky in the league? Why is Kenny Pickett still like a option for what? Cleveland? I don't get it. All of a sudden, miraculously, hocus pocus, they turn into good players. They suck. Move on with it. The Bills pass rusher Joey Bosa went to the Buffalo, huh? There he goes. He's got his calf injury, so he probably won't play much this year. I don't know how you can trust Bosa. He's always injured. And here's the Raiders making the punter the highest paid punter. Seriously, you're wasting your money on a punter. Okay, that says it all. So you hope then when it's fourth down at midfield, they're going to putt the ball and coffin corner them like Ray Guy used to do, and then you got to start from the 5-yard line. So if you're going to pay the punter, you got to use him. You can't go on fourth downs all the time. All right, that be it. Let's check our gold. Let's see if we're back over the 3,300 hump. An uptick, downtick, and up. We're at 32.92 and silver 32.99, whatever that means. Okay, so we open up China. German auto giants flee the U.S., go to China. They can't handle the tariffs. Trump's fucking things up with the tariffs. Why is he continuing? Why did he even start with the tariffs? He acts like he doesn't even know what a tariff is or what it will do. It's a tax increase. It's a cost increase. And if you don't have the horses, if your customers are all foreign, BMW, Mercedes, and Honda, and they're here, and now you've made everything more expensive to them. You've just killed yourself, right? So who do you think's coming here? You had the companies here. What are you doing? Why are you still doing these tariffs? Are you trying to bankrupt the U.S. because you're doing a nice job of doing that? You've just lost a lot of jobs and you've lost a lot of tax revenue and a lot of sales tax revenue. So not only tax revenue from the people working, but sales tax revenue from when you sold the cars. What are you doing? Do you have a brain in your head, or you're listening to Homer Simpson and who is very clueless, this Scott guy? China orders banks to cancel 6.1 trillion in US dollars. Well, what have I told you? Oh, the dollar can't go out. If nobody wants it, it has no value. If I can't sell my Canadian club, it's worthless, right? If I say I'll sell this to anybody for $10 and nobody offers me $10, it's worthless. Now, this I wouldn't sell for under 100, but that's the point. If I can't get a buyer, I have no market, it's worthless. If I can't get a buyer, this is worthless. If nobody wants this, it's worthless. And I'm telling you, I'm 5 moves ahead. So I'm telling you, this is worthless. There is no buyers. You can see all the BRICS countries are not using the dollar. They're getting out of the dollar. The only people using the dollar now are the West. Uh, Germany, Italy, England, Switzerland, um, France. They're the ones using the dollar in their trades. But how quickly, when are they going to go join BRICS to get the gold? Because that's the thing with BRICS. They're smart enough to understand gold. Profit. Is Rogers a lock for Pitt? I don't know. I heard he's interested in going to Minnesota as well. When did you hear that? Recently? As far as I know, Pittsburgh's the logical place because he could actually win there. He's got DK Metcalf. He's got a running back and JJ Watt and a pretty good defense. Probably doesn't love the offensive coordinator, which I wouldn't either. He's terrible. But the way he plays, he'll ignore the offensive coordinator. And he's 40, so do I really want to play? How complex is the Steeler playbook and how much are they going to let me throw? That's what he's thinking about. Minnesota has a big problem called J.J. McCarthy's never played before, and he's not that good, and he did not look that good at Michigan. So to go to him, you got Jefferson. How pissed off is Jefferson going to go going, this guy can't throw it to me. He throws it over my head into the ground. He runs too much. No, I need a quarterback. And he was good with Kirk Cousins. That's how good Jefferson is. We showed you inside North Korea, Japan dumping $1 trillion in treasuries. I think there was an Egon one. Yeah, we watched the Egon one.
Don't ask what the gold price is going to be. I said many years ago, I actually in a discussion video with Jim Rickards, I said gold will reach 10,000. I don't like giving targets. It's just an arbitrary round figure because it sounds good, 10,000. But it means nothing. What is the dollar worth at the time? $1,000 you might need to pay for an hamburger at the time or a McDonald's. So it's useless to measure anything in money that is declining by the day and it's going to become worthless. So don't worry about the level gold is going to reach. Just remember, gold is the only money that has ever been survived, and that's the only way to look at it.
Ever feel like someone's not telling the truth? Stoicism teaches us to observe.
So that's a good point. You guys asked me, is gold going to go to 100,000? I said, well, I don't know if the dollar will still be there to value it at 100,000, but in theory, gold will be 100,000. But again, this is the point I make. What's $100 US, $100 bill? It's worth 100, but what does 100 buy you? Doesn't buy you a lot. Like I said, get a few steaks or some salmon, and that's it. So it doesn't buy you that much. It's lost its value. The $100 bill, while being worth 100, the 100 doesn't buy you anything. So that's really the key to it, is the 100 doesn't buy you anything like it used to. Go to the grocery store. So that's what I'm saying. So, but the gold's going up. So why the gold sitting at 30, 32, 90, 95 today makes little or no sense. And again, that's why I say it's price fixed. That's why I say it's comex. And that's why we're so excited for July 1st when they won't be able to play this stupid game anymore. Because if they do short it, people will, they'll ask for delivery and they won't be able to do it. So that's why comex will be gone soon. They won't be able to make the deliveries, and then China will price it. And as I said, I keep showing you China's collapse, right? Here, end of China, $8 trillion just disappeared. That was the trains, dead silence in China. Everybody's gone. Global collapse, China, $53 trillion collapse. Well, that might be the train. China orders banks to cancel 6.1 trillion. So are you not understanding how that affects the US dollar? I mean, when China cancels these, that's not good for because the US is not making sales. So if I sell you the Canadian Club, if I sell you this for 100, it costs me 50, I make $50. I can pay my employees and my rent and the lights and everything else. I need the money. And when China does this, the German auto giants flee the US for China. Now that's money for China. That's taxes and jobs. That benefits, as I just said, the US is going to lose jobs. They're going to lose the taxes the people paid. They're going to lose the sales tax when you bought a Mercedes. So this is very critical loss for the US. What the fuck is Trump doing? And this is where he's listening to Scott Severs, and he is fucking clueless. And this is the problem when you got a finance secretary who doesn't know what he's doing. And it's clear he doesn't know. He might sit there with he doesn't have, but listen to what he says. He's an idiot. So I don't know. I think we listened to this. Maybe we didn't. We'll listen to
Imagine
it.
making $453,000 in a single month as an affiliate marketer.
Fuck off.
What if the United States just lost control of $6.1 trillion in global trade and didn't even see it happen? On May 26th, China didn't fire a shot. It issued a silent directive to its banks, canceled dollar trade, moved to the UN. Now, overnight, countries started pricing oil, steel, and machinery without touching a single US dollar. And while Trump demanded Beijing/exports, China drew a red line. We'll trade, but only on our terms. This isn't a tariff war. It's a financial mutiny. And the next move might erase America's grip on the world economy for good. On May 26, 2025, while U.S. officials were still urging Beijing to rebalance its economy, China quietly rewrote the rules of global trade. The People's Bank of China raised the minimum renminbi ratio in cross-border transactions from 25% to 40%, effectively sidelining the dollar in deals worth over $6.1 trillion annually. This wasn't symbolic. As Bloomberg reported, Chinese banks that fall short risk regulatory downgrades, limiting their access to capital markets. Goldman Sachs now projects that every 1% appreciation in the yuan could lift Chinese equities by 3%, underscoring the financial gravity this policy shift is already generating. But what Beijing did next signaled an even more aggressive shift in power, and it wasn't about cooperation. At the Global Finance Forum, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent accused China of destabilizing global trade and demanded it slash manufacturing in favor of domestic consumption. But Beijing didn't flinch. It pivoted. Instead of pulling back exports, China is preparing to expand them under a rebooted Made in China strategy, with focus on AI, robotics, and semiconductors, according to sources cited by Bloomberg on May 26th. Manufacturing currently contributes 25% of China's GDP, and officials made clear it's non-negotiable. Rather than accept a binary framework, produce less, consume more, Beijing aims to grow both sides of the ledger. And as long as that growth is denominated in yuan, Washington's control over trade terms weakens. But what does this mean for the financial markets betting on dollar dominance? This isn't a tantrum, it's a structural pivot. By forcing more trade into renminbi, China is shielding itself from dollar-linked sanctions while actively drawing global capital toward its domestic markets. In Q1 2025, cross-border yuan settlements accounted for 30% of goods trade, up from under 20% just 2 years ago, according to Pan Gongsheng, governor of the PBOC. Analysts at
So we'll get back to that in a minute. So what's happening, right? Sanctions. If you're in dollars, you're fucked. Tariffs. If you're in dollars, you're fucked. Trump wants to tariff them. Well, if I'm dealing with yuan or gold-backed currency, which they are starting to deal with now, has no effect on them. I'm not trading in U.S. dollars. So Trump, what's he going to take his ball and go home? I mean, what are you doing, Trump? He's not smart enough, and the Scott Simpson guy is not smart enough to react to what's happening. When I tell you I can't pick football the same way because I've got Caleb starting his first year, I have no trend on him. I can't look at my trend analysis to trend the new quarterbacks and coaches. Here you've got, they are getting out of the dollar. They are going to gold. They are going to the yuan. Mostly they have the gold back yuan already out there, and Russia's doing a gold back ruble. So they are out there, and you're fucking up. You're not adapting to what they're doing. You're just sitting there with your thumb up your ass, going, "Well, we'll raise it to 200%. Raise what? They're not playing. They don't need to sell to you. They don't want your dollar. As long as this is worthless and nobody wants this, makes it worthless. What are you going to tariff me at? I don't want your dollar anyway. I don't want, it's just like, you don't want Target because they're a little bit DEI type of things. So you don't shop there. Well, I'm not going to shop with the U.S. They don't make anything. They're my leading consumer, but I don't want to get toilet paper monopoly money. I'd rather get gold. I'd rather trade to Brazil and trade to India, where I'm going to get gold-backed currency. And that's what the U.S. and this Scott Bassett is just way over his head, missing the boat. He doesn't get it. They are countering you, and you don't get it. They are more powerful than you are. You're living in the 1960s, fella. So I don't know, but we don't have gold, and our dollar's worthless, and nobody wants it, and that's it. That's the end. When nobody wants it, and I give you Rome, I give you France, I give you Spain, I give you Portugal, I give you Amsterdam, I give you England. They all had the gold, had the dollar, and it all went out. So don't sit there and tell me, well, we can just keep printing money and nothing will happen. Bullshit. You keep printing money, it's worthless. Look at Germany, 1923. They printed a whole shitload of rice marks. Nobody wanted up. They were wallpapering the walls with them because they didn't have a value. That's what you're doing. You're killing the value of the dollar. And I'm getting tired of $4 potato chips. $3 for 2 liter of pop. And what the $4 for dark chocolate? What are you kidding me? The dollar has no value. And it's amazing people just are seeing what's going on, but it doesn't register. And here, China just dumped $1 trillion. China cancels all these orders, and nobody puts 2 and 2 together. Okay, you can't keep doing what you're doing, and then we keep doing the war. Good morning. I'm sorry I can't read Chinese. If you could put it in English, I'd be happy to communicate with you. Profit, is Rodgers a lock for Pitt? I don't know. Till he says he's going to this team, he's not. All right, so you can see what's happening. Trump does the tariff. People are saying, fuck off. We're either going to bring all these companies to us, or we're going to deal in gold and not pay your tariffs and not pay your sanctions. That's what Russia's doing. You're forcing Russia to do it, and they got 20,000 tons of gold in Putin's swimming pool. So they've got the gold, as does China. So they're prepared. They know how to combat this bullying by the U.S. with sanctions and tariffs. Oh, just get off the dollar. And Russia's been off the dollar since the war started, and China too. And Saudis doesn't want the dollar for their oil. India, they buy gold through, hand and foot. Brazil's buying gold. So all these countries are buying a lot of gold to be on a gold-backed currency to trade with. And the U.S. is sitting there, yeah, this is worth like 1 cent now. Don't you want this? Yeah, we don't want to deal with you guys. All right, so that's what's happening. They're not adjusting to the different variables, as most of this class is about.
Researchers estimate that shifting another 10%, roughly $610 billion, into yuan could boost long-term demand for Chinese assets by 12%. As renminbi trade rises, the recycling loop shifts away from U.S. treasuries, draining liquidity from American bond markets. The immediate impact? Lower demand for the dollar, tighter capital flows into Wall Street, and an incentive for foreign institutions to hedge in yuan. But China's real advantage lies in who's buying in and who's no longer listening to Washington. Picture yourself in a Johannesburg electronics store. You pick up a generator, Chinese-made, cost-efficient, and labeled not in dollars, but in yuan. This is no thought experiment. As of Q1 2025, BRICS trade with China surged to 1.49 trillion yuan, roughly 209.7 billion USD, up 11.3% year over year, per China's General Administration of Customs. Deals with South Africa, Iran, and Brazil are increasingly settled in local currencies or yuan.
Did you know you can pee out type 2? Yes, and that's something many people don't know. The real cause...
Nobody cares.
Currencies or yuan, bypassing the dollar entirely. In the background, tariffs. Trump's latest hikes reached 145%, forcing partners to look for alternatives. As payment rails shift, so does pricing, making the dollar not just politically toxic, but economically inefficient. But if buyers are switching currencies, what are exporters doing with their loyalty? While U.S. officials push a Fortress America narrative, China's trade ecosystem keeps expanding with willing partners. In the first quarter of 2025 alone, Chinese exports to Brazil jumped 25.7%, while imports surged 30.1%, marking a record bilateral expansion. Trade with Russia also intensified, especially in energy and machinery, as detailed by Reuters. The reason? Predictable pricing, fewer political strings, and yuan-denominated contracts that don't expose countries to U.S. regulatory blowback. Liu Daliang of China's Customs Department noted that BRICS now accounts for 20% of global goods trade, and this bloc is becoming an accelerator for de-dollarization. The contradiction is stark. Washington sanctions are pushing allies closer to Beijing's financial system. But what happens when the dollar isn't the world's default anymore? And who risks the most? When Trump raised tariffs to 145% in early 2025, it was framed as economic defense. But instead of forcing a slowdown, China's manufacturers pivoted and got cheaper. According to Bloomberg, Chinese heavy machinery exports surged by 18.4% in the first quarter of 2025, despite domestic real estate contraction. State-supported firms like Sany and XCMG shifted capacity from stalled domestic projects to aggressive overseas sales, undercutting global competitors by up to 50%. The Wall Street Journal reported that construction vehicle shipments to Africa and Southeast Asia hit record highs, with yuan-priced contracts bypassing tariff exposure altogether. By using scale and state leverage...
And keep in mind, the yuan is also heavily inflated. In fact, every paper dollar is heavily inflated. So the deals they make must go to the gold-backed dollar that BRICS is going to use, because the yuan's not worth anything either. So the ruble, all of them are not really worth anything. If they're not backed by anything, they're zero. They're monopoly money, and they'll all start crumbling. That's why gold wins. That's why we buy gold and silver. So that's what you're looking at. So keep that in mind. So anyway, that's what we see here. Then we got today with the German automakers.
Unprecedented market volatility. According to S&P Global, the U.S. didn't lose German automakers in a trade war. It pushed them out with a sledgehammer. Overnight, BMW froze $26 billion in U.S. investment. Mercedes rerouted its next-gen tech to China. Audi pulled the plug completely. And while Trump cheered tariffs as a win, America's top auto suppliers started collapsing in silence. Ford's bleeding billions. GM hit the brakes on its future lineup. And now, China's building German cars for the world, while Detroit watches from the sidelines. This isn't a policy debate. It's an industrial evacuation. And what's coming next makes this look like a warm-up lap. In April 2025, without warning or congressional consultation, President Trump imposed a 25% tariff on all foreign vehicle imports and up to 200% on specific parts, setting off what Bloomberg called an unprecedented exodus of European automakers. BMW, Audi, and Mercedes-Benz initiated a multi-billion-dollar pullback from the U.S. market within weeks, suspending shipments and freezing expansion. According to Germany's Federal Statistical Office, the U.S. accounted for 15.7% of German vehicle exports in 2024, roughly 530,000 units. By May 2025, that number was projected to collapse by over 60%, with Audi halting deliveries entirely. Mercedes-Benz reported the tariffs would reduce its EBIT margin on North American sales by 4.2 percentage points, while BMW warned of a €2.5 billion global hit. These weren't corporate adjustments. They were emergency exits. Yet the deeper cost wasn't just foreign, it was systemic. Because when three of the world's most advanced automakers slam the brakes, the road beneath American auto manufacturing begins to crack. And what's coming around the next bend? Even Detroit isn't ready for it. Trump's 46-word tweet wiped out more than jobs. It wiped out an entire industrial model. BMW's Spartanburg, South Carolina plant, the largest U.S. auto exporter by value, supported 43,000 direct and indirect jobs and contributed $26 billion to the U.S. economy in 2023, according to the U.S. International Trade Administration. By Q2 2025, BMW had suspended component imports, citing 18 to 24% part cost inflation on powertrains and electronics. Mercedes-Benz's Tuscaloosa facility, which built over 260,000 vehicles in 2024, reported a 41% drop in throughput after key ECUs from Germany and Slovakia were flagged under the new import duties. Audi, which had no domestic production, simply stopped importing. More than 2,500 U.S. suppliers tied to these automakers, many of them small businesses, faced mass cancellations. According to the Center for Automotive Research, the U.S. stands to lose up to $45 billion in total economic output over the next 12 months if these exits persist. And yet, while the U.S. imposed its penalties, another global superpower quietly opened its doors and offered something America could no longer promise: stability. Mercedes-Benz's next-generation EV platform, originally slated for U.S. development, is now being built in China's Pearl River Delta. In May 2020.
So look how they adjust. So Scott Bassett and Trump are sitting there and they're tariffing and they're not adjusting, right? They're just doing it. They don't adjust. Where look what Mercedes and Audi and BMW are doing. They're adjusting. They're moving to China, keeping their costs down. I'm sure they got plants there already, probably the Ford and GM ones that are not there. So they're there, they're not being used. So they'll be able to build them cheaper. And for Mercedes is Mercedes. You'll still buy it. You don't care if it's made in China or made in US. Hell, we think it's made in Germany anyway, right? So this is the problem. They adjust. Trump's not adjusting. Bassett doesn't know what the hell he's doing. To make him your Secretary of Treasury, you're out of your mind. Supposedly he's into gold. Well, I don't see. Are we buying gold? I don't hear that. Why is gold not going up on Comex then if he's buying gold? So anyway, a little bit more of that, but really that's what's happening. As you're raising my cost, it's just like what I tell you, right? If you go to a store, if I go to Meijer's, which is like a Target here, and my dark chocolate goes up to $4.49, and I can go to Walmart and get it for $2.49, a different brand, but dark chocolate. I go there, and that's exactly what China's doing. What Mercedes is doing. My costs have gone up. I've got to look for an alternative, and they're going to China as the alternative. Who wouldn't want Mercedes? Apparently Trump. What the hell is Trump doing? He's collapsing America, and he's doing it really quickly. Now, I don't buy that this is part of a reset or this is part of, so we'll do CBDCs. They won't have a value because they, going to be anybody here, and all of it's going to be shot. So I don't know. It's what the fuck are they doing? Buy as much gold and silver as you can because the dollar is obviously worthless. Nobody wants it. Things are getting more expensive because it's worthless. Have your gold and silver in your hand, you'll be protected. Otherwise, you're fucked. Stock market will go down. They're going to bail in the banks. You're going to lose all your money there. Stocks will drop. Bonds are dropping. The rating has gone down. And you're getting less tax, and you got a big $37 trillion debt to pay. Oh, we'll have a war. That'll get us out of the recession. Yeah. The CIA's missing the point there that the wars do not get you out of recession. They're very expensive. All right, a little bit more of this.
25, BMW broke ground on a €4 billion factory in Chengdu with a planned capacity of 350,000 units per year, according to Reuters. Audi, meanwhile, inked new R&D partnerships with Huawei and Tencent to develop autonomous vehicle software, relocating over 500 engineers from its California office to new campuses in Shanghai and Shenzhen. China's government offered tax credits, land grants, and 10-year regulatory exemptions under its Smart Auto 2030 initiative, a direct incentive package unavailable in the U.S. post-tariff. The Financial Times reports that German EV tech, including proprietary battery architecture and software stacks, is now being licensed to Chinese joint ventures, tech once protected on American soil. For Beijing, this isn't just a win, it's a strategic annexation of luxury automotive prestige. And for Washington, the losses extend beyond vehicles. With design, data, and R&D all rerouted to Asia, America isn't just watching innovation move overseas, it's watching the blueprint for the future drive off without it. Ford didn't celebrate the German retreat. It issued a warning. On May 3rd, CEO Jim Farley told analysts that Trump's tariffs would reduce the company's adjusted EBIT by $1.5 billion in 2025 due to increased costs on imported drivetrains and microchips. General Motors suspended its forward guidance entirely, citing unprecedented market volatility. According to S&P Global, 48% of U.S.-made vehicles still rely on critical imported components, ECUs, semiconductors, and advanced battery modules, all now subject to price hikes of 15 to 35%. Stellantis halted production of its plug-in hybrids for 5 weeks due to delayed powertrain imports. But perhaps the most dangerous development was invisible innovation stagnation. Without Audi's Quattro tech, BMW's hybrid systems, or Mercedes's UX design teams as rivals, American brands risk slipping into a vacuum of complacency. Cadillac's EV line remains $20,000 above its German counterparts in projected pricing, while Lincoln's new Navigator launch was delayed again due to sensor shortages. As competitors vanish, so does the external pressure that once pushed Detroit to lead.
5 signs you're protein deficient. Did you know that you could be protein deficient even?
External pressure that
we
once
don't
pushed
care.
Detroit to lead. What's left? A domestic industry stuck recalculating and racing without a pace car. Call it irony, or call it sabotage in slow motion. Because this wasn't how the story was supposed to go. The tariffs were meant to bring jobs back, to make Detroit roar again. Instead, they emptied out the very supply chain that made it competitive. And while America's factories stall, the rest of the world isn't waiting. They're rewiring the game entirely. The European Union has begun drafting retaliatory tariffs in direct response to Trump's 2025 auto import duties, signaling what Germany's IFO Institute calls a realignment of economic alliances away from Washington. In 2024, Germany exported 3.4 million passenger vehicles globally, nearly one-fifth of which went to the US. But that pipeline is now fracturing. The UK secured a bilateral exemption on up to 100,000 vehicles, cutting tariffs from 27.5% to 17.5% on British cars, according to the BBC. Meanwhile, supply chains are pivoting toward Asia, where German automakers are ramping up regional production to bypass U.S. volatility. Stability has replaced efficiency as the top priority, said Dirk Doos of the Kiel Institute, warning that global manufacturing is becoming politically segmented. While America once anchored the global auto value chain, it's now being rerouted through trade corridors that Washington no longer controls. And as foreign partners draft selective pacts, the U.S. may find itself navigating a trade map where fewer routes lead back home. Behind closed warehouses and silent production lines, more than 2,500 U.S. auto suppliers are facing collapse, with the Center for Automotive Research estimating over 40,000 at-risk jobs tied to German automaker contracts. In Toledo, a manufacturer of Mercedes-Benz suspension components furloughed 80% of its workforce after losing its largest client. In Tennessee, a wiring harness firm that serviced BMW is filing for bankruptcy protection. Yet Wall Street's attention remains on quarterly earnings, ignoring the supply chain hemorrhage that threatens long-term U.S. competitiveness. This isn't a blip, said CAM director Stefan Bratzel. It's a cascading failure of a decentralized system with no fallback. As parts dry up, U.S. automakers are forced to pause assembly lines, not due to labor, but because no one can deliver the tech. This isn't just industrial disruption, it's a silent collapse, unfolding away from Bloomberg tickers and investor decks. But the next quarter's...
See, it's all a domino effect, right? So the Germans moved out, the part suppliers, the tier ones are the Mercedes, the tier twos are the part that they give them lights and tires and stuff for the batteries and all that, the interior, the exterior of the car. All those people have lost sales, so their sales, they got to let people go. So this is going to be massive on less taxes, not more people unemployed. And this is the way the domino goes. And then people that would sell to the tier twos, which could be tier threes, they've lost their customers. The people get laid off. It's harder for me to get a job because I work a lot of auto. I got to go to China to work now, I guess. This is just totally fucked. This guy, and guess what? Your $37 trillion debt isn't going anywhere. It's going to 38 and 40 and 45. You're still printing money to death. This still has no value. You're just taking a lot of people out to get, now everybody's going to be, maybe is this, so we'll go to CBDCs now? Oh, well, nobody's working, so we'll give you CBDCs. Yeah, no thanks. That's why I heavily advise you to get the gold and silver as quick as you can, because the dollar has no value. None of the dollars have value. They go to gold. And when they start pricing oil and gold, you're fucked. You won't be able to buy it at $3 a gallon. I don't know what it'll be. It'll be a lot higher than that. So be careful with that. And go from there. So again, this is just the start. July 17th, BRICS will announce gold-backed currency, which kills the dollar. You don't have a lot of demand for it now. All they're trying to do is bully people with tariffs and sanctions, and nobody wants to play that game. Everybody, if you just stick with free trade, you're fine. What the fuck are you doing? Getting away from free trade and getting away from gold, and you think the Keynesians, this is why I hate the Keynesians, because they're not right. They're never right. Their whole system doesn't work. I already know that. So when I hear Keynesians, I get Like, are you out of your fucking minds? All right. Anyway, so the German auto, they're gone. We watched this one on North Korea yesterday, which is kind of interesting. John Stossel. Trump erupts as Walmart cuts 1,500 executive office jobs. I got a haircut tomorrow. Yeah. At 1:45. So I'll probably do class about 10:30. We watched Egon. It's Canada joins China. Everybody's joining China. You can't blame them, but we're basically broke. Forget the stock market. They're just printing money, pumping it into the stock market. So you see this. Let's see what stocks are doing now. Let's recap our money. Gold is 32.98, coming up nicely. Silver 33.01. The steal of the century. Buy your silver at 33 before it hits 1,000 an ounce. Let's see what Bitcoin's doing today. Bitcoin is down to 107. Oh, wait a minute. It was 111. Why is it down to 107? Because it's not real. This is the point people don't understand. This is just being manipulated with derivatives. Because if it was, once the Montana card's 110 grand, it doesn't go down to 90 and 80 and 70. It's 110. And that's what you have here. So why silver and gold is manipulated by JP Morgan doing options and derivatives. That's why gold and silver move, not because anybody in their right mind is selling gold and silver. In fact, you don't. You never sell it unless this vampire keeps asking me, well, when do you sell it? I go, I don't sell it. I don't buy it to sell it. I buy it because it preserves my wealth. It will hold up as if you bought a Picasso and a Van Gogh and a Mantle card. That the Rolexes, because they will hold their value. Otherwise, you're definitely screwed. Let's see what the Dow's at. The Dow's down 120 at 42.2. That's the biggest joke I've ever seen. What are they trying to tell us? That we're manipulating the stock market to make it look like everything's fine. How stupid are people? Really, you believe this? You've got these tariffs. You've got companies leaving, and yet everything's fine in the stock market. You've just lost all these tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 auto suppliers, auto parts. People are laying off. How is the economy supposed to grow when people are getting laid off and the costs are going up on everything? And you go to the grocery store and it takes more to buy it. How is the economy growing? What logic is the economy growing? It's not. It's shrinking. Stock market should be crashing. And they're keeping it up artificially with the bullshit that they do, printing money to keep it up. And it's not. I wouldn't think the stock market's worth more than 25,000 right now. So I might say 42, but we know it's not true. We see Bitcoin at 107. We know that's not true. People will sell their Bitcoin when they need money, and that's what's going to happen with your assets. It's the foreigners who are going to sell their stocks when they need money, because the foreigners park their money in the U.S. because they think it's a safe haven. Little do they know you're getting fucked by doing that. So they'll start selling their stocks and taking the money out of the banks, moving it back into Germany and France, and then buying gold with it, because the euro's got no value either. Neither does the pound, neither does the yuan, neither does the yen, neither does the ruble, Swiss franc. Pick a country. If it's not backed by gold, it has no value. And this is the problem. And so everybody's being blindsided but us. And I won't let you get blindsided. That's what I do, and that's why I do it, because it's freedom, right? You're getting freedom by buying gold and silver, which is what I'm doing here. Is I'm giving you freedom. I'm getting you out of the crap, and then you'll be okay. Everybody's going to get crushed. Everybody with their $500,000. Pardon me while they mow my lawn. Everybody with the $500,000 401k are going to go broke. When the stock market goes down, now it's not going to go to zero. There will be a few companies that will be okay, but there goes your auto and all your auto workers, and they go to Target and Kroger's, and they're going to have less to spend and less vacation, and tourism will be hit, new cars will be hit, everything, because the price will go up. I don't have extra money to buy a car like that. I New Wine. Good afternoon. What's going to happen to the agriculture sector when all of this starts to take place? Well, it's already China. Like we tried to sell pork and soybeans to China, and they refused it. So that was $6 billion they didn't get in revenue. So the agriculture, are you saying, will we be able to find things to eat? I think in America we will be, because we farm a lot of it. The price should go down because they can't sell it, and then they should still ship it off to Kroger's and Sam's Club and that internally in the U.S. We should be okay, at least for a while. The problem is if you bankrupt the farmer and then they can't produce, that's the problem. And we're not relying on Bill Gates to start farming. But the farmers and the meats and the people with the fish and the chickens, they'll lose sales, but they'll still sell in America. So they should be okay. The problem is the inflation is going to drive the prices up. And as people are losing their job, they're not going to be able to afford it. So they'll be eating other products. Will the prices go up primarily on the futures market? Well, the inflation is going to drive all the prices up because it drives the value of the dollar down. So I'm not quite sure on the future, like the frozen corn concentrate orange juice that Eddie Murphy does. Prices will go up because of inflation. As far as the futures, that's a fixed game, with options. So I don't know. I can't say, but let's look at gold. Why isn't gold going to the moon? I mean, they keep knocking it down. Why? It's the only thing you can buy. It's the only out. It's the only lifeboat. So why is it not 10,000 an ounce? Well, they're holding it down. So they'll probably on the futures hold it down also. But if you go to the grocery store, everything's more expensive because this is not worth anything. And what Trump's doing with the tariffs and losing all these companies, the autos, he lost the Japanese and now he lost the Germans. As he makes this worthless, all the prices go up and people won't be able to afford it. I mean, that's really where we're heading. And that's why I'm screaming to buy the gold and the silver, because that will not lose its value. And you'll still be able to buy the same amount of food as you could before. And you need to protect yourself for gasoline, because when Saudi Arabia prices it in gold instead of dollars, now they'll still keep some in dollars because they want to make sales here, but they don't really want dollars. They want gold. So this will be interesting what Saudi Arabia does. They're broke. I showed you that little line they had, that new city where they're investing trillions of dollars and they're losing their ass because they can't build it and nobody's moving in. It's just like the trains in China. You built these trains, there's no demand. Say's law, supply creates demand. Well, if you don't have demand, you shouldn't be building things. So they're building this wall in Saudi Arabia that nobody wants in the middle of the fucking desert. Here in China, they're building these high speed trains that everybody's moving to the big cities, so they don't need the trains, and it's expensive, so they go on the slower trains. So it's all economics. It's all Say's law. You make things that people want, and as far as the food, I think it'll go up because of inflation to a point, but I mean, I'm still seeing hamburger. I can still get it $6 a pound. So that's really kind of not going up. Chicken, I did see that go from $2.99 to $4.99, but they still have stuff that you can still put on sale, the legs or the drumsticks or the thighs, the thigh leg combination, still $1.99. So you can still get chicken at reasonable prices. God knows the quality of the chicken now, because all the chickens are put together and they shit on each other, and it's just a nightmare. That's why you want grass-fed beef and grass-fed chicken and wild salmon. The more you can buy of that, but that gets expensive. So I assume that'll start coming down too, because they're not going to be able to sell it if it's too expensive. What else? New wine. You really think Saudi Arabia would do that, considering the relationship they appear to have with Trump? Saudi Arabia is in business to make money. They're going to sell, once BRICS is official, the gold-backed currency, they're selling their oil to China. They're selling their oil to India. They're selling the oil to Japan. These are countries like Germany that doesn't have natural resources. Probably sell their oil in Europe. Well, they probably already do. We don't buy much of their oil. We buy maybe 10% of our oil is bought from Saudi Arabia. So there's still the U.S. Things in the U.S. will keep us from totally collapsing, because we still have a lot of food here. We have oil that they got to start pumping, but a lot of people will be laid off, just like what's happening with the Germans. I mean, they're moving everything to China. Well, you're laying off a bunch of people, you're closing things, you're not going to get tax revenue, or you're not going to get sales tax revenue. So we're fucking ourselves, but we're not responding to it. That's the problem with Trump. He's not responding to the problem. China responded. You want to tariff us, we're going to tariff you back. We don't sell shit in China anyway. I mean, you're more looking at Mercedes has plants here that our people are working at, and they're paying tax. That's what you should be looking at, not the tariff of, we can't sell GM and Ford cars in China. Who the hell wants them in the first place? You're either buying electric, which GM and Ford can't make, or they just, nobody wants them. I don't want a GM or Ford. I won't buy that. So that's really what you're dealing with. And then you're dealing with money that's worth nothing, and then you're dealing with higher prices because your money's worthless, and you're just trying to eat. You're not buying a car. You put meat on the food on the table. So it's going to get rough. There'll be a lot of layoffs. There'll be a lot of unemployment, and there's going to be a lot of people not being able to afford the food as the prices go up. Eventually, though, they won't be able to keep raising the prices, because if nobody buys it, it stays on the shelf, and the grocery stores lose money because they pay for it. So they'll keep buy 3, get 1 free, buy 2, get 1 free. But it is, $3.50 for a Coke now. Okay, fine. I'll buy 7-Up. And that's what you do. We're not having to buy Coke or Pepsi. And Coke and Pepsi is going to, if you have stock in that, you better get the fuck out, because you're going to lose in that. Warren Buffett sold his shit, and he's in T-bills. Real smart move by him. He's in T-bills, and he bought Corona stock. I would have probably bought Pepsi over Corona, or Coke, or Dr. Pepper or something over Corona. People are going to run out and buy beer. Yeah, I'm going to feed my kids beer. the idea now is if you do buy stock, you buy it in things that people eat that are inexpensive. So chocolate, Hershey's, Heinz ketchup, French mustard, um, things like that, Coke and Pepsi or 7 Up. That's the stocks to buy now because people can afford them. People will always have pop or beer or milk because they have, they got to eat and they're going to buy things that are cheaper. You're not going to buy champagne as much or, expensive, uh, wines and stuff like that. So that's how you buy your stocks if you're going to buy your stocks. But the way gold is now and the way the money is worthless, you've got to buy gold. And if it's getting too expensive, you back up the truck and buy silver at $33. I'm screaming, buy, buy, buy. My problem is I went to buy 10 ounces of silver on Friday and they had quarter ounce gold. So I bought the gold instead. What could I do? I'm weak. So it was $9.25 for quarter ounce of maple leaf gold. And he had plenty of silver there, and it's not going to move. It's not moving until July 1st. It'll never get to the 50, 75 till comex is gone July 1st with Basel III. Okay, so I got time to buy the silver, but buy it you better because it's going to jump. I wouldn't buy Saudi's relationship with Trump. I'm not sure how much I trust Muhammad Ali over there. He's tricky. He's dealing with China and Russia, and he's dealing with America. He's playing both sides against the fence. I'm not sure I would trust him. He's not a real smart guy. He doesn't understand economics, finance, gold, any of that. So what he's doing, he's just a figurehead, basically. So what relationship does Trump have? Trump shook Putin's hand. Trump shook Xi's hand. These are not his friends. Putin's sitting there going, what the fuck you doing with the war? And Xi's, you're killing me with tariffs. So he looks like he has a good relationship with everybody. That's on TV. I wouldn't trust Trump and I wouldn't trust them either. Why is the war not over? Why is the war? He'll end the war in one day. Yeah, that's going on 4 months. So I don't really get that. So you can't believe everything they show you on TV. That's all staged. I think he's going to do what's best for Saudi Arabia. He's got this disaster line where he's building houses in glass in the middle of the desert that was going to go like 10 kilometers. That's now going 1 kilometer. So they're going bankrupt. Well, they're not going bankrupt. They get the money from oil, but all the money from oil they're putting into these projects that there's no, it says law, there's no demand for them. Who's he going to attract? He's not attracting. Nobody wants. Who's running to Saudi Arabia to work? What are you going to work on? So he's not getting that. All their people there don't work. They're all on welfare because of all the oil money. So they're sitting back. Why should I work? Or they work for the government, I think. So I don't know. They don't really like foreigners. They don't like, if me and you were there, they wouldn't like us because we're different. I had that problem in Alabama. They didn't like me because had a master's and I was from Michigan. They didn't like me. So I told them all the fuck off and came back here. So we'll see. But yeah, you can't trust anything. Saudi will do what's best for Saudi, as Russia will do, as China will do, as all these countries are doing. You can see Mercedes is doing what's best for Mercedes. They're moving to China. Trump was probably buddies with them, but they're gone. I worked at Mercedes in Detroit here. They had like a plant, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll still be there or they're moving to China. I don't know. They'll probably still be here, but they make freight liners and big trucks there. Anyway, that's about it. So let's just recap. Gold again. Are we at 2,300? 32.96. I keep saying 23. 32.96. That's a big difference. Silver at 33.02. So I suggest you hammer silver as much. I don't know. You got $100. You go buy 3 ounces of silver. That's what I would do. But and buy the gold, because that's really where we're headed, right? This we know is worthless, and this we know is worthless. So if these are worthless, the only outs are silver and gold. These aren't going to get better. And when they say inflation is 3%, they're full of shit, because inflation is printing money, not prices, and therefore they keep printing and printing. Now it's all coming back, so there's even less demand for the dollar, which makes the dollar worthless. No demand. So again, I'll use this as my example. If there's no demand for this, this is worthless. As long as I get a market and somebody will buy it, it has a value. You're losing them. Everybody's running to BRICS and they're all selling with China. And so there's no demand for this. They don't want to get tariffed. They don't want to get sanctioned. So they're bypassing this with these other currencies, which will all go to zero. So they'll eventually go to gold. I don't know this reset and CBDC. In my word, it's going to be the same as Bitcoin. You don't have to own it, but you can. And I think that's what a CBDC will be. They're not getting rid of dollars. That'll never happen, because the mafia makes a lot of money selling drugs and girls, and they settle in money. That ain't going anywhere, because the mafia runs everything, and we know that. So that's the thing. You'll never lose cash. So you always be good with cash and gold and silver. But CBDCs, I don't think we'll have in America. I don't think people want to be controlled, and they're afraid of that, and they're not going to let it happen. And I don't think they'll have to do it. I think you still go to the bank and they'll give you money. I don't think the banks are going to go to CBDCs, because then they can't print it and they actually lose control. Right now, they can go print money, right? What does JP Morgan do? They print money because they're the Fed and they print money. I don't see where, if they have CBDCs, they can print money, and then nobody wants to be controlled. It's a stupid idea, and it will never work in the US. It might work in some communist countries, Venezuela, Cuba, where they're used to just listen. You have no voice, you just listen to us, or I'll throw you in jail. Here it's different. We tell them to fuck off. So I don't see it happening in the US, and I'm never getting rid of the gold or silver, and they've got to come out with new money so we can buy groceries and clothes and stuff like that. So you always need money as a medium of exchange to get paid and then to buy things. So you need something to do it. CBDCs, I just don't. The biggest key of money is it's got to be accepted. We won't accept it. And will the restaurants and hotels and food accept CBDCs? And I don't think they will, but that we'll see. But I'm not worried about that. If I ever come to Jacksonville, let me know. Okay, New Wine, I will. I've been to, years ago, I went to Miami when I was a kid, and I went to Boca when I was a kid. Haven't been there lately. I think I went to Disney World in Orlando 10 years ago. Don't make it down to Florida much. I mostly go to Europe, but I will keep you in mind. New Wine, thank you very much. Right now I'm waiting on D to go to Russia. We're waiting on the war to end. I don't know what's going to happen there. She finally got her operation. It was like under the gum. It was like under the lip, the gum. She showed me a picture, and it looked pretty brutal. So this was her operation, and she was pissing in her pants. She's scared. She was supposed to come home Monday, and then I didn't hear from her. I says, "Where are you?" And she says, "Oh, I was dizzy, so I'm leaving the hospital today. So, I mean, this is what she had to do. I've never seen anything like that. She thought it was a cavity, but I don't know. So hopefully she'll be home today and healthy and everything else, she said. So I don't know where she gets dizzy. She's got a lot of health problems, I believe. So when I don't hear from her for a day or two, I never know what to think. But anyway, so that's the idea, is to meet her in Russia if the war ends, or meet her somewhere there, near there, where we can both meet. So that's my goal now. Or I was in Italy with Jenna in October, so that was a nice place. That's what you see when you see my thumbnails on my videos. A lot of the new stuff is Italy, near Positano, which is a very nice little city on the Mediterranean side. I can see why Italy like went to war so often. You can't. It's all hills. You got to climb up the hills. If you ever watched the Guns of Navarone, when they got to go up the mountain and then to get and take the guns out on Navarone, that's how Italy is. I mean, I don't know about the whole Italy, but I mean, where we were at, we had to climb. I had to climb half mile to get up from the beach back to the hotel. It was a long climb up. So you're on the coast. You're on the. Yeah, I think I got a picture for that too. Like this is an example. I mean, the umbrellas are the beach, but look at these rocks. Now they have a path where you walk up, but look at these mountains. This is how do you attack this? If you're an army, you can't. And this is what this whole coastline is. I mean, look at this. This is just crazy. Again, this is the beach and all the fucking rocks there. I mean, you got this. This is the beach. That's where the water taxi was to take us from our city to another. Um, Here again, here's the beach, and just look at the cliffs. It's crazy. So you can see here's the water. This is the Mediterranean, but look at the cliffs on the side. This whole handrail, you had to walk all the way back to get to the hotel. It was exhausting. I was in great shape after the trip. Here's a different look. You're just, so this is basically it. That this is Italy, on that side where Positano is. It's a couple hours from Rome. And then this is Positano up here. Very nice city. We ate dinner there a couple times. So that's very nice. There's Jenna, and then that's Positano here. So it's just another view of it. You can just see the way it is. Very expensive to get a hotel there because this is it. It's just that. Let me see if I get a better angle. Like here, I don't know who these people are, but there's the beach, and then it just goes up into the mountains, and all these are hotels and apartments or houses or condos or whatever they want to call it. And that's why it was so expensive. You're right on the water. Here's a shot from the water taxi. You can see the cliffs. Just really difficult. How do you invade that? I mean, look at what, and it's all over the place. All these cliffs. So here's, like, you can see the rocks, and then you can see, I don't know, houses or buildings or business settled on the rocks. Anyway, it's a lot like Monte Carlo, where you have a lot of that. But that's Jenna again. This is what you had to walk to get all the way back to your hotel. So there was this path. You can see the rocks, and then you just keep going up and up and up for 20 minutes. Like here, you can see the path going up. It just keeps going up and up and up and up. And it's hard because the hardest part I had with it was that um, the stairs were different. So your normal walk up a stair here, or if you walk up the stairs at a store or a mall or something, there's space, so you just walk. And these stairs there were too narrow, so your normal stride didn't work. So you're falling down. I almost killed myself. I fell down on one stair going up, and it was I tripped and I almost hit my head on a pole. I would have killed myself. So I kind of fell down. I think I scraped my arm or something, but that was it. But anyway, so that's Positano in Italy. Little pricey. You can find restaurants. There really wasn't there wasn't a typical. The hotel was older. It wasn't a typical hotel like a Marriott, and there was you found a little stores where you could buy milk and wine or candy or stuff like that. No avocados. I had to go without avocados for the week. There was a grocery store, but it was like 20-minute walk or something. So it was we tried that, but we just didn't do it. We're just too tired. There's too much walking there. So it's a little different type of vacation. As far as going to Rome, we could have. It was about 2 or 3 hours away. I just didn't see the point of it. If I want to go to Rome, I go to Vegas and I can see the Appian Way and Caesar and David and all that kind of neat stuff. All right, so baseball, we got the Mets, Detroit, Houston over 8.5, Pitt, San Diego over 8.5, KC under, and Seattle over. That's today's games. In basketball, we're taking, I believe, what do we got? The Knicks tonight, or no? We got Minnesota, I believe, tonight, getting 8.5. Do or die. They played them. They killed them in Game 3 and just lost in Game 4. And I think Minnesota do or die to down 3-1, and I think they will play their best game. Is it good enough? I don't know, but I get 8.5 points. That's good enough for me. And we'll be playing the Knicks tomorrow. They're now down 3-1 and have to win. I don't know that they will, but we'll take the points. But they're at home. I think New York wins tomorrow, and then Indy gets them in Game 6. And I think OKC wins tonight, but it'll be a tight one. Minnesota could win, but it's harder to win on the road in the NBA playoffs. All right, that's it. So get out of your stocks. Understand the dollar's gone. It's worthless, as is the euro and the British pound. You got to understand that it's not really a leap of faith, but the question is, well, I don't see it happening. Well, you do. Go to the grocery store. I mean, it's something that's a collapse, but you don't, it's not just one day the dollar's worthless. It's breaking down. It's now $4 for a Coca-Cola. It's, tuna's $4.44 for a can. You start seeing things cost more. That's the dollar breaking down. The tariffs are because Trump's panicking. He's got to get out of the $37 trillion debt that you can't just walk away from. People, well, he just won't pay it. No, he's got to pay it. You're bankrupt. If you don't pay your debt, you're bankrupt, right? Me and you, if we owe $5,000 on our credit card and we don't pay it, it's not like nothing happens. We're fucked. Good luck getting another loan on money and getting credit. You won't. Nobody's going to loan it to you if they don't think you're going to pay it back. So the U.S. is fucked. They just don't pay the 37 trillion. Understand that. Tariffs are terrible. July 1st, comex, Basel III, and they're going to have to pay the silver and the gold, and that's going to be a big thing. July 17th, BRICS in Brazil has their meeting, gold-backed currency. It's already being done, so it's not like maybe. It's being done in Brazil with China, and Russia's set to come out with their gold-backed rubles. So that's really what's happening. So pretty definitive. So enjoy your day. Happy Memorial Day. Tomorrow I'll be on a little bit earlier because I got my hair cut at, I think it's 1:45. Gold's back to 3,300, silver 3,304. So if you got any type of money, go buy silver. You know, the biggest thing, and then I'll go, is, hey, if nothing happens, you can trade in the silver and come back to. So if you bought $10,000 of silver and it's not moving and you're like, I need the money, you can sell it back to them. They'll pay you just about spot for your silver and you get back into dollars. There's no risk. It's not like you can't get back into dollars. The risk is holding these and expecting this to keep its value. It won't. That's the part you're trying to avoid, is that this won't keep its value, which it's not. And you know, so do you hold silver worrying about the value? No. But if you do need money for something, for a bill, or you go on a vacation, you do have it, and you use it for that. So that's basically what you're trying to do. So that'd be the lesson today. College football, I have written out week 1. I don't have lines yet because I don't know enough to do lines yet. I can tell you what the lines are, but I don't want to be, I hate using their lines. It bothers me. I want to pick what I think it'll be and then go. So until I know all the quarterbacks, so an example of a good game, we got Notre Dame at Miami of Florida. I do know this spread's Notre Dame -3, and probably love Notre Dame right now. LSU, Clemson. Clemson's a 3-point favorite over LSU. I love LSU there, getting 9. Clemson doesn't have anything. Alabama at Florida State. Indiana gets Old D. Penn State and Nevada. UCLA and Utah. Texas and Ohio State. Ohio State's a 3-point favorite in Ohio. That should be a good game. Tennessee, Syracuse. Michigan gets New Mexico, another tough game for Michigan. Who does Georgia? Georgia gets Marshall. Well, that'll be a bloodbath, especially the way they finished last year. Georgia Tech and Colorado. Now you don't have Prime and you don't have the Hunter or Prime Jr. So I love Georgia Tech as a dog in this game. I don't know if they are. I got to see what the line is. That's one game I would bet now because you got Haynes King, I believe, still your quarterback. That's a winner. Auburn and Baylor. Cincinnati, Nebraska. Boise goes to South Florida. And Fresno State goes to Kansas. I like Kansas. And Iowa State, Kansas State. Iowa State's always a good team to bet on. So that's some key games. We'll talk about it. I'll have a special class for college football. We'll go through it. But I got this will be like phase 1. Phase 2 is once I know the quarterbacks, then I'll add the quarterbacks in. And I usually try to tell you if they're new or returning, because it's key. If it's returning quarterback, that's a big advantage over a new guy because he's got to learn the offense and everything else. All right, that's about it. Have a nice day. www.teaserking.com. Hope you enjoyed. Our one friend from China, if you can do English, I can talk to you. I don't know what that says. I doubt anybody here knows how to read Chinese. But anyway, so keep in mind, China, you're bankrupt, but you're getting the German car companies to put plants in China. All right. Have a good day, everybody. I will talk to you soon. I'm here if you need me. Get my email on www.teaserking.com. But I will keep you abreast of what's happening each day. Today's Wednesday. Mark McGuire on Friday. We'll see. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Good luck. Relax. Don't get stressed. Just buy gold and silver. You won't have any stress. There's no bad news that can happen. All right. Take care. Thank you, everybody.